Chapter 401. The latest chapter isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. Impossible. How dare you? Zhuang Jin's, how dare you? Behind her, concubine Jing screamed at the top of her lungs, accompanied by the sound of tables and chairs falling to the ground. However, with the dragon shadow gods around, Empress Dowager Zhuang wasn't worried that concubine Jing would rush up. Empress Dowager Zhuang left the room without looking back. The emperor stood at the door, dumbfounded. Obviously, he had been eavesdropping the entire time, and had heard every single word of it. Concubine Jing had revealed a lot of inside information, but he only focused on the last one. He looked at Empress Dowager Zhuang and nervously grabbed the hem of his clothes. He said with some awkwardness and excitement, I'm Imperial Mother's biological son, right? Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at him with disdain. Didn't I say no? Her voice was quite loud. The emperor poked his head out and looked in concubine Jing's direction. He gave Empress Dowager Zhuang an understanding look. Then, he followed Empress Dowager Zhuang into the next room. Why did you follow us in? Empress Dowager Zhuang asked bluntly. The emperor chuckled. I know Imperial Mother said it on purpose for concubine Jing to hear. I'm Imperial Mother's biological son. Empress Dowager Zhuang was speechless. Why didn't this person listen? She didn't recognize her own child, did she? Empress Dowager Zhuang glanced below the emperor's waist. I gave birth to a child without a handle. The emperor clamped his legs together with an aggrieved expression. Just when Empress Dowager Zhuang thought that her silly son understood her meaning and finally stopped being stupid, the emperor unexpectedly said, Xiao, Hong, I don't care. Xiao, Hong, is Imperial Mother's biological son. Empress Dowager Zhuang, who couldn't bear to look at him, was speechless. Could she refuse with her ugly face? On the other side of the room, the old duke and Gu Chengfeng were staring at each other. Gu Chengfeng stood in the middle of the room with his head drooping like a little quail caught in the act. The old marquis sat boldly on the chair and looked at Gu Chengfeng with a complicated expression. Why are you here? This story started from Gu Jiao's encounter with the emperor. The chance for him and Empress Dowager Zhuang to escape was exchanged with Gu Jiao's life. He ran forward recklessly and even lost his mask. Therefore, when he met the emperor and old duke, he was recognized by old duke at a glance. The only fortunate thing was that he did not fight with anyone at that time and only used a little qing gong. Gu Chengfeng stuttered. I was in Jade Water Alley at that time. The emperor came to Jade Water Alley to find the Empress Dowager. I heard it in the study. I was worried about the Empress Dowager's safety, so I came out to look for her. I also wanted to do something to help. An ignorant and incompetent little dandy actually wanted to contribute his meager strength to the Empress Dowager. No matter how one looked at it, there was a trace of strangeness in these words. The old marquis asked again, The gods let you out just like that? Gu Chengfeng's expression did not change as he said, I took out the token of Marquis Ding and Fu and said I was your grandson. They then let me go. The old marquis was half believing and half doubtful. But compared to how he left the city, the old marquis was more concerned about how he knew the Empress Dowager and how he knew martial arts. Gu Chengfeng did not know if his grandfather knew that the Empress Dowager Zhuang had wandered among the common people. After all, the Empress Dowager Zhuang had always announced that she had been recuperating in the temporary imperial residence for the past year. He was worried that he had said something he should not have said, so he said, What is there to not recognize? It's not like I have never entered the palace. When I went to visit Imperial concubine Shu, I saw the Empress Dowager from afar. I even saw her a few times. And once, I accidentally got lost. It was the Empress Dowager who had someone lead the way for me. I never said this to you. I know that you don't like the Empress Dowager. The first few sentences were thought out on the way back. The Empress Dowager giving him directions was something he had made up on the spot. This perfectly explained why he came out to find the Empress Dowager. It was because the Empress Dowager had helped him. He was returning the favor. Wow, how did I suddenly become so smart? As expected of me. As for martial arts, sigh, how could I know any martial arts? It's just a bit of Qigong. I secretly learned it from Big Brother. The logic was perfect. He was too good at it. But, where did this ability to make up stories come from? It was inexplicably familiar. The old Marquis still found it strange, but he could not find any fault with it. He could not ask the Empress Dowager for confirmation. The Empress Dowager was too lazy to even pay attention to the Emperor, let alone him. Sneaking out of the residence in the middle of the night was punishable. Since Gu Changfeng had saved the Empress Dowager's life, the old Marquis let him take the carriage back. Then the old Marquis went to report to the Emperor and repeated Gu Chengfeng's story. He was probably worried that the Emperor would be suspicious about why their child was hiding his abilities and whether he was secretly plotting something. After all, the old Marquis clearly felt that the Emperor did not trust him as much as before after what happened with the old concubine Jing. The Emperor was still immersed in the great joy of knowing that he might be his mother's biological son and had no time to doubt this and that. He praised Gu Changfeng and praised the old Marquis for teaching him well. There was no need for any proof that the old concubine Jing was a remnant of the previous dynasty. Moreover, she had stolen the previous emperor's imperial edict and murdered the Empress Dowager. Her crimes were grave and unforgivable. If the old concubine Jing really did take Empress Dowager Zhuang to the frontier, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Empress Dowager's life would be in danger, the imperial family would lose face, and the morale of the soldiers would plummet. The Zhao state would be plunged into unprecedented turmoil. This time, the emperor did not show any mercy. He came to the room where the old concubine Jing was being held. Old concubine Jing had stopped struggling. She was like a soulless shell, slumped on the chair with a dull expression. The emperor's gaze swept over her wrist, which had been badly bruised from the friction of the rope. He did not say anything and had eunuch Wei bring the things in. The old concubine Jing seemed to have finally come back to her senses. She turned around with tears still on her face and said in a hoarse voice, "Hong, the emperor said in disgust. "Don't call me Hong. You don't deserve it." The old concubine Jing laughed self-deprecatingly and looked at the emperor. "Hong, you're only so disgusted with me because you've been drugged. When the effects of the drug wear off, you'll know that in your heart, I'm 100 times, no, 1,000 times more important than that woman Zhuang Jin's." The emperor's gaze was as cold as the winter wind. "You're wrong. Whether or not the drug is effective, I won't believe you again, much less treat you as my real mother." "Is that so?" The old concubine Jing laughed and revealed an innocent yet bewitched expression. "Then what are you doing here? Are you trying to get information out of me?" "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I won't say anything." The emperor knew that she would react this way. The descendant of a death warrior of the previous dynasty had the temperament of a death warrior after all. He didn't expect to pry information out of her. "I'm here to send you off." The old concubine Jing's body stiffened slightly. Eunuch Wei walked forward with a tray, on which was a bottle of poison and a piece of white silk. The old concubine Jing finally couldn't laugh anymore. "You're really so heartless. You and your father are both so heartless. You. She didn't cry, but big drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. The emperor didn't show any mercy. "Mother and son, this is the last bit of dignity I'm giving you." "Dignity? You killed your own mother. What dignity are you talking about?" The old concubine Jing scolded and laughed crazily. "As expected of your father's son. You'll get your retribution. You'll get your retribution." The emperor wasn't going to be swayed by a few curses. "I'm the son of heaven. I was born according to the heavenly law." The old concubine Jing interrupted him. "Son of heaven? Ha ha ha, have you forgotten how you got your throne?" The emperor pondered for a moment and nodded. "That's right. Mother helped me plan it, so I have to thank her. From now on, I won't make her unhappy again." With that, he turned and left the room, not giving the old concubine another look. Something big happened in the capital in August. The old concubine Jing passed away. Because she was still the Abbess Jing, and it was more accurate to say that she had passed away. The Abbess Jing, and had always pretended to be frail to the outside world. For this reason, Consort Rui Wang brought a doctor from the magical hand hall to treat her twice. The emperor also took her back to the palace to recuperate. It had to be said that her sickly persona had helped a lot. Almost no one suspected that there was something fishy about her death. When they heard the news, everyone thought, "Sigh, with such a weak body, she really couldn't make it past this year." However, it wasn't as if there were no mysteries. For example, everyone thought that the emperor would restore the Abbess Jing An's status as the old concubine and give her the posthumous title of Empress Dowager. Unexpectedly, the emperor didn't do that. She was the Abbess Jing, and all the way until she was buried. When the news reached Jadewater Alley, Gu Jiao, Xiao Lulang, and Gu Chengfeng were all there. "His Majesty really?" Gu Chengfeng was shocked. As one of the insiders that night, he naturally knew that the old concubine Jing's death had other reasons. However, he hadn't expected the emperor to really go to this extent. Sympathy? The answer was no. That old witch had done all kinds of evil and harmed the imperial harem for many years. She had caused the Empress Dowager and the emperor to turn against each other and almost die at each other's hands. Not to mention the innocent Princess Ning En. As long as she wasn't eliminated, she would always be a huge hidden danger to the court. Empress Xiao was in charge of the old concubine Jing's funeral. The emperor didn't even show his face. The emperor decided to send someone to the frontier fortress. He had originally planned to send Gu Chongqing. After all, Gu Chongqing held a position in the military and was someone who could be sent out openly. However, Gu Chongqing hadn't returned from the capital and the matter couldn't be delayed. The emperor thought for a moment and summoned Tang Yueshan and the old marquis to the palace. He handed the token that could mobilize the Shadow Dragon Guards to the old marquis and said seriously, "I'm entrusting this token to you in the hope that you can do 3 things for me. First, recall the Shadow Dragon Guards. Second, investigate the situation at the frontier. Third, bring Princess Ning En back safely." The old marquis hadn't expected the emperor to give him such an important task. He was stunned for a moment before he cupped his hands and said, I accept the decree." The emperor then looked at Tang Yueshan. "I don't need to say more about your task, do I?" Tang Yueshan cupped his hands and saluted. "I hereby swear that I won't return to the court until I've killed all the henchmen of the previous dynasty." Digression. Happy New Year's Day. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/110768929. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 402. The latest chapter is not finished yet. Please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. Thus, Tang Yueshan and the old marquis were set to go to the border together. One of them belonged to Empress Dowager Zhuang's camp, while the other was the emperor's confidant. They used to be at odds with each other, but after being tricked by Empress Dowager Zhuang, Tang Yueshan's hatred was absorbed by the mastermind behind the scenes. Empress Dowager Zhuang told Tang Yueshan that the mastermind was old concubine Jing. Although old concubine Jing was dead, she had accomplices, the remnants of the previous dynasty hiding in the frontier fortress. Tang Yueshan was going to do his best to kill the enemy this time. The old Marquis had no objection to this arrangement. He and Tang Yueshan worked in the dark and in the light. They had a clear division of labor and didn't interfere with each other. Eliminating the rebels and rescuing Ning and were urgent matters. The emperor hoped that the two would leave as soon as possible. After leaving the palace, the old Marquis took a carriage back to his residence. He stopped the carriage when they passed by Qinghe Academy. Unfortunately, school was over, and Gu Yan and Gu Shaoshan had already gone to learn martial arts from Madame Nan and Master Lu. Forget it. Let's go home. The old Marquis waved his hand and paused. He thought of something and said, "Wait, let's go to Taihe Martial Arts School." There were a lot of pedestrians on the road and it was a bit congested. It took the coachman some effort to get the carriage to Taihe Martial Arts School. "Master, we've arrived," said the coachman. The old Marquis got out of the carriage. He was here to see little brother Gu. He was about to leave the capital and wanted to say goodbye to him. However, he found out that little brother Gu hadn't come to the school for many days after asking the people inside. Wasn't he fighting well? Why didn't he come? The old Marquis muttered. The attendant said, "This? To be honest, I saw him with someone called Old Ho that day. That Old Ho is a shopkeeper of the underground martial arts arena. He always comes here to look for experts and poached many of them. Even the dojo master was furious because of him. However, we can't afford to offend the underground martial arts arena, so we can only let him be." The old Marquis frowned. Underground martial arts arena? Today was Gu Jiao's 10th match. She made a beautiful comeback and knocked her opponent off the stage, winning the duel. This young man in green who wore a mask and held a blinding spear had completely made a name for himself in the underground martial arts arena. It was hard to tell if it was because her movements were too flashy, or because her red tasseled spear was too ugly. In short, everyone despised her at the beginning. Later on, one after another, she appeared at the scene. The old duke happened to see Gu Jiao's last performance when he arrived. It was a beautiful fight. The young man stood on the arena, his eyes clear and bright. He looked valiant and formidable, as if he was glowing. The old Marquis suddenly felt the gratification of an old grandfather. He didn't know why. Before stepping down from the ring, Gu Jiao received her first exclusive badge. On it was engraved the word 1 in her native language. This meant that from today onwards, she was a certified level 1 expert in the underground dojo. Gu Jiao hung the card on her little sunny pouch and shook her head. Happy. Looking at her shaking head, the old Marquis's eyes unconsciously revealed a trace of a smile. Little brother Gu. He walked over with large strides. Gu Jiao raised her eyes to look at him, using her eyes to ask him, "Why are you here?" The old Marquis actually understood what she meant. He felt that it was miraculous. He smiled and said, "I went to the dojo to look for you. They said that you came to the underground martial arts arena. I was originally worried about you. But after seeing you fight, I was overthinking." It wasn't convenient for Gu Jiao to write with her red tasseled spear, so she passed it to him first. Weapons were a martial artist's private property. Under normal circumstances, no one was allowed to touch it. Gu Jiao's action was enough to show her trust in the old Marquis. But the old Marquis wasn't moved by her trust. On the contrary, his brows were tightly knitted together. Was this still the Yen country's divine weapon that he had given her? How did it become so ugly? What exactly did it go through? Gu Jiao took out a small notebook and scribbled, "You're looking for me?" The old Marquis decisively shifted his gaze away from the red tasseled spear. He was afraid that if he took another look, he would be blinded by the ugliness. He said, "I'm leaving the capital. Before I leave, I wanted to see you." Gu Jiao didn't enter the palace today, so she didn't know that he had been sent to the frontier fortress. Although they were brothers, she didn't like to pry into other people's privacy. Therefore, she didn't ask why he was leaving the capital. She only wrote, "Will you be gone for long?" The old Marquis nodded. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back this year. The journey to the frontier fortress was long. Moreover, it would take some time to investigate the remnants of the previous dynasty and settle down. Princess Ning and Gu Jiao looked at him, as if waiting for a more specific answer. He continued, "If I'm fast, I'll be back in spring. If I'm slow, I'll be back in a year. So long." Gu Jiao wrote, "I'll treat you to a meal to send you off." The old marquis laughed heartily. "Good. Coincidentally, I have one last move to teach you. You were too hasty when you fought in the arena. Next time you encounter such a situation, do this." The two ate for a full 4 hours. It was mainly the old marquis who taught Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao might have been irritated listening to him, but she listened with great interest. The old marquis felt that he could teach her a little more. Unfortunately, it was getting late. Little brother Gu should go back. He should also prepare to leave the capital. The old marquis didn't let his brother pay for the meal. He went downstairs to settle the bill. As long as the old man wasn't her grandfather, he was quite cute. Gu Jiao thought for a moment, then took the small token from her waist and handed it to him. The old marquis was puzzled. "What are you doing?" He was asking what she was going to do, not what she was going to do. Obviously, he recognized this token. Gu Jiao didn't think too much. She picked up the small notebook beside her and wrote, "My first master's token for you." The old marquis asked, "You're willing to give such a precious thing to me?" One could only get this token after winning 10 matches. Moreover, it was the first master's token in his life. The old marquis knew how important this token was to him. The old marquis thought too much. Gu Jiao felt that she was about to get the second-rank master's token, so this one, it didn't matter if she gave it away. The main thing was that she was reluctant to spend money to buy a gift for him to send him off. The old marquis saw that she was sincere in giving it to him. But was it not sincere? She didn't need to spend money, so the old marquis accepted it readily. "It's getting late. Let's go back." He stood up with a smile. Gu Jiao suddenly thought of something and wrote in the notebook. "All right, last time you..." She crossed it out and wrote again. "Last time, your friend said that he was going to elope with the girl he liked. Why didn't he say anything else?" This was something the old marquis took the initiative to mention to her, so it wasn't considered as invading his privacy. The old marquis' body stiffened slightly. In a place where Gu Jiao couldn't see, his hands clenched the armrests of the chair. "I'm not eloping." "Why?" Gu Jiao wrote. The old marquis opened his mouth and looked out of the window. He said bitterly, "She's gone." Gu Jiao, oh. Gu Jiao didn't ask any more questions. Gu Jiao didn't take the carriage today. The old marquis wanted to send her, so she couldn't expose her residence. She shook her head and refused, saying that she had other things to do. The old marquis saw that Gu Jiao didn't seem to be someone who didn't know how to behave. After a few words of advice, he got into the carriage and left. In early August, Tang Yueshan was ordered to go to the frontier fortress. Nominally, he was there as an imperial envoy to grant Princess Ning, and the title of Princess Ning, and of the first rank, and her husband the title of Marquis of the first rank. His Majesty also asked Tang Yueshan to bring a lot of rewards and supplies for the frontier fortress during the winter. In fact, the rewards and supplies were secondary. The troops escorting them were the most important. The old marquis, on the other hand, had concealed his identity and mingled with the group as Tang Yu's personal aide. The day before the Mid-Autumn Festival, Gu Jiao went to the underground Kung Fu arena again. She was now a first-class master and could fight with people 2 levels higher than her. She didn't know if she should say that she was lucky today. Her first opponent was a 3rd-level Turkic machete man. The Turkic people were very strong physically. As soon as he entered the arena, Gu Jiao felt an unusual pressure. Sure enough, the higher the level, the stronger the masters she would meet. Gu Jiao tested the opponent's strength with her first punch. She was forced to retreat a few steps and accidentally bit the corner of her mouth. Gu Jiao smiled. Interesting. Then Gu Jiao planned to use her real move. However, before she could make a move, a black figure jumped into the arena like a ghost. No one saw what happened, and the Turkic machete man was kicked away. The Turkic machete man fell into the crowd and fell to the ground. He vomited blood and fainted on the spot. What's going on? Who's making trouble? The judge who rang the gong rushed forward and wanted to kick the black-clothed man down. However, the black-clothed man grabbed him by the neck and raised him high. The masters in the kung fu arena saw that something was wrong and rushed to kill the black-clothed man. Gu Jiao was surprised. Wasn't this the dragon shadow guard she met in the forest that night when she saved her grandaunt? The one who was more powerful than the Emperor's dragon shadow guard? Why was he here? And he kicked his opponent off the arena? He couldn't have thought that she was being bullied, right? Gu Jiao felt that this guess was absurd. After all, they were neither relatives nor friends. It was impossible for him to help her. But no matter what, he didn't try to kill her like last time. Gu Jiao walked to his side. After hesitating for a moment, she patted his wrist lightly, indicating for him to put the person down. He looked at Gu Jiao and then looked at the judge who was about to be strangled to death. He actually let him go. Gu Jiao took out a small notebook and wrote down the reason why he was here. However, he didn't say anything. Was he illiterate? Gu Jiao rubbed her chin and looked at him. Just as she was thinking of how to communicate with him, he turned and walked away. Gu Jiao. Were all dragon shadow guards so willful? Gu Jiao apologized to the judge and promised to bear the medical expenses for the Turkic machete man. She just needed to send him to the miracle hall. Then, she jumped off the arena and followed the dragon shadow guard. The dragon shadow guard came to the Yen country pharmacist's house and stood there motionlessly. Why was he standing there? Was his master inside? His master was the Yen country pharmacist? Gu Jiao thought for a moment and then bravely walked in front of the dragon shadow guard. The dragon shadow guard didn't chase away Gu Jiao. It was as if to him, Gu Jiao was just a mass of air, or something that could exist by his side. Gu Jiao wanted to see who his master was. If the dragon shadow guard wasn't exclusive to the Zhao country's royal family, then didn't that mean that she could also buy a dragon shadow guard through some channels? Gu Jiao thought this and raised her hand to knock on the door. However, the dragon shadow guard blocked her with the hilt of his sword. She couldn't knock? She couldn't disturb the master inside? It seemed that his master had given him an order that no one was allowed to disturb him. Then she would just wait. Gu Jiao squatted outside the door and stood guard. It was literally squatting. She was bored to death and even took out a charcoal pencil to draw circles on the ground. As she drew, she used too much strength and broke the charcoal pencil. A section of the charcoal pencil bounced up and hit the dragon shadow guard's mask with a paw. Don't look at it as just a mask. It was the same as hitting the face. Wait, a mask? Gu Jiao touched her face. Her mask was still there. That day in the forest, she didn't wear a mask. Today, she wore it. That day, she wore black night clothes. Today, she wore black clothes. She was already dressed like this. How did the dragon shadow guard recognize her? Gu Jiao tilted her head to look at the dragon shadow guard. Do you have a special way of recognizing people? The dragon shadow guard's mask was hit and he paused for a moment. The way he looked at Gu Jiao changed for a moment. He also touched the mask like Gu Jiao. It's over. He wouldn't be angry, right? He wouldn't want to kill me, right? It was no wonder that Gu Jiao was so paranoid. The dragon shadow guard in front of her had an unstable temperament. The first time he saw her in the forest, he almost killed her. He even pinched her husband's face. Gu Jiao couldn't beat him. Even if she ran, it seemed that it was too late. Just as Gu Jiao's brain was spinning rapidly, thinking of how to escape, the door behind her opened with a creak. Digression. On the first day of the new year, looking for a wave of guaranteed monthly votes. A good start. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/110764914. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 403. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. Gu Jiao subconsciously turned her head. She saw a woman wearing a light green cloak walk out. Her clothes were gorgeous. It wasn't the ostentatious kind of beauty, but a beauty that was low-key and luxurious. She wore a plain white veil on her face. Her nose was high and a pair of eyes covered by the cloak were calm. She looked very young. There were almost no wrinkles on her eyes, but the noble and elegant temperament that she exuded seemed to have been settled by the years. It made Gu Jiao feel that she might be a few years older than Yao Shi. A sentence flashed through Gu Jiao's mind. Time never defeats beauty. However, Gu Jiao's goal was not the beauty in the room. Gu Jiao didn't forget that she came to find the Yen Kingdom's pharmacist to ask how to buy the Dragon Shadow Guard. She clapped her hands, stood up and walked inside. She didn't look at the beauty again. And the other party didn't pay attention to the Zhonghu kid squatting at the door. She took the pills she had bought from the store, pulled the hood of her cloak, and calmly walked in the direction of the door. The Dragon Shadow Guard followed. Oh! Gu Jiao was about to step into the room when she retracted her foot. She turned around and looked at the Dragon Shadow Guard who left with the woman. A big question mark lit up above her head. The Dragon Shadow Guard wasn't one of the Yen Kingdom's pharmacists? It was this madam's? Who was she? Why was there a Dragon Shadow Guard? The reason why she was more willing to guess that the Yen Kingdom's pharmacists could buy the Dragon Shadow Guard was because the Dragon Shadow Guard originated from the Yen Kingdom. The person who trained the Dragon Shadow Guard also came from the Yen Kingdom. They were all people of the Yen Kingdom. The possibility of the Yen Kingdom's pharmacists was obviously higher. Then what was the deal with this madam? Gu Jiao was confused. She planned to follow him to take a look, but unexpectedly, Old He came over. Old He had come to look for Gu Jiao after hearing Judge Wu's complaint. When he saw Gu Jiao, he let out a long sigh of relief and walked over worriedly. He grabbed Gu Jiao's hand and pulled her 10 steps away. Young Master Gu, why are you here? Didn't I tell you not to go near those houses with gourds hanging on them? Do you know who was in that room just now? If you offend him, I'm afraid even I won't be able to protect you. Gu Jiao didn't say anything. She was still looking at the woman who had walked out. Uncle Ho thought that Gu Jiao had listened to him and was reflecting on herself. He continued, "And what happened in the ring just now? Who was that man? Why did he suddenly interrupt the duel? Do you know that if it wasn't for me today, the people in the martial arts field would have finished you two off on the spot?" Gu Jiao still didn't say anything. Uncle Ho frowned and pinched her arm. "Did you hear what I said?" "I heard you," Gu Jiao said. You can talk." Uncle Ho was so shocked that his body shook. He took a few steps back and fell on his butt. "No, you are a girl?" As he said that, he raised his hand that had grabbed Gu Jiao's wrist and pinched Gu Jiao's arm. He suddenly felt that he had done something unforgivable. Uncle Ho wasn't a good person by nature. He had all the 5 poisons, but he still couldn't do it to such a young girl. Gu Jiao was 15 years old, but wearing men's clothes would make her look younger. She looked like she was only 13 or 14 years old. Gu Jiao didn't intend to continue hiding her voice from Uncle Ho. As the business of harvesting leeks expanded, she would have more and more contact with Uncle Ho. She was annoyed by always writing. Uncle Ho originally came to find Gu Jiao to denounce her, but after being provoked by Gu Jiao, he forgot all the words he was about to say. Gu Jiao asked. Have the two chives come over in the past few days? Uncle Ho was stunned. What? Leaks? Gu Jiao cleared her throat. Young Master Chu and young Master Xiao. The corner of Uncle Ho's mouth twitched. Was it really okay to give them such a green nickname? Uncle Ho refused to answer her question. They have been here. Damn, his mouth was too honest. Gu Jiao asked again, how many times have they been here? Uncle Ho glanced at Gu Jiao. Thinking that she was a delicate little girl, he closed his eyes and gave up resisting. Young Master Chu has been here 3 times. Young Master Xiao has been here 11 times. Even someone as calm as Gu Jiao was shocked by the Crown Prince's actions. Was he so free? Or did he really want to see her that much? Gu Jiao rubbed her chin. Oh, you go and tell them that I'm free tomorrow afternoon. Uncle Ho was stunned. Both of them? Gu Jiao's lips curved. The highest bidder wins. Uncle Ho, young people didn't care about martial ethics. In the end, Uncle Ho still went. In any case, he wasn't running errands for nothing. There was money to be earned. After Gu Jiao came out of the underground martial arts arena, she went to the restaurant where she had sent the old marquis off. She had accidentally discovered that the crispy duck in the restaurant was very good. She planned to buy 2 for her family to bring back. Young master, the duck will be ready in a while. Please wait for a moment, the waiter said with a smile. Gu Jiao nodded and found a place to sit in the corner of the lobby. She couldn't help but think of the dragon shadow guard she had seen in the underground martial arts arena and the madam who had been escorted by the dragon shadow guard. Who exactly was she? Why was there such a powerful dragon shadow guard? As she was thinking, Gu Jiao's eyes suddenly lit up. There was a figure at the end of the corridor. If it wasn't the madam, who else could it be? The madam walked towards Gu Jiao and entered a side room behind Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao deliberately lowered her presence. She waited until the madam had passed before standing up and walking towards the side room. The door to the side room was closed and there was a soft conversation coming from inside. I just went to see the Yen Kingdom's pharmacist. These words were obviously from the madam. Her voice was gentle and healing, which complemented her noble temperament. We were lucky. He just happened to have 1 last bottle left today. He said it would be effective for your symptoms. You should eat it first. You. Who was this madam talking to? Her tone was so respectful. Her identity was already extraordinary. Those who could be addressed as you were either elders or had a rich and noble status. She didn't know who it was. Gu Jiao thought for a moment and came to the window. She planned to poke a small hole in the window paper to take a look. Just as she raised her little index finger, before she could poke it in, a tall figure enveloped her. Without saying a word, he grabbed her waist and lifted her up. That's right, it was a clip. In the past, only Gu Xiaoshun and Gu Chengfeng would clip little Jing Kong. She didn't expect that one day, Gu Jiao would also be caught. She was clamped by the dragon shadow guard's arms around her waist. Her hands and feet fluttered. Before she could make a splash, she was brought behind a big tree in the backyard. He put Gu Jiao down. Gu Jiao looked at him warily. Her little ahogue stood up. What was he going to do? Was he going to take revenge for his face being slapped? The dragon shadow guard raised his hand and reached for Gu Jiao. Pressing down on her little ahogue. Gu Jiao. The dragon shadow guard withdrew his hand. The little ahogue that was pressed down stood up again. The dragon shadow guard pressed it back down again. It stood up again. The dragon shadow guard's eyes turned cold. A powerful internal force overflowed from his fingertips. With the irresistible power of the red flame, it flattened the unyielding little ahogue. He seemed to be comfortable. Gu Jiao. Forget it. As long as he wasn't here to take revenge on her, she would accompany him. The dragon shadow guard took out a charcoal pencil from his arms and handed it to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao made a sound of surprise. She looked at the charcoal pencil in her palm and then at the dragon shadow guard. Why are you giving me this? I just broke one, so you gave me a new one? Then, thank you. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Jiao felt that he was unhappy. It's not for me? Then. Gu Jiao thought for a moment, then squatted down tentatively and drew a circle on the ground. The dragon shadow guard was happy. Gu Jiao was quite confused. After all this time, he just wanted to see her draw a circle. In the next second, Gu Jiao knew that she was wrong again. Because the dragon shadow guard was unhappy again. Gu Jiao scratched her head. She used force with her other hand and accidentally broke the charcoal pencil. The dragon shadow guard was happy again. Oh, you want me to break the charcoal pencil? That's easy. You can break as many as you want. Gu Jiao grabbed the remaining charcoal pencil in a mighty and domineering manner and smashed it into pieces. Then, she saw that the dragon shadow guard's eyes had turned into ice. The dragon shadow guard patiently handed another charcoal pencil to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao recalled for a moment. Until she broke this step, there was nothing wrong. But the steps after that were not what he wanted. Was it because she didn't break it beautifully enough? Or was it because she didn't break it elegantly enough? I didn't slap your face, right? Wait, slap your face. Gu Jiao boldly glanced at the dragon shadow guard and flicked the charcoal pencil in her hand on the ground. With a crack, the charcoal pencil broke. The other part of the broken pencil splattered on the dragon shadow guard's mask due to the angle and strength, making a crisp sound. Gu Jiao looked at him in panic. In the next second, the dragon shadow guard gave Gu Jiao a piece of candy. Gu Jiao initially thought that he was going to kill her. Later on, he didn't kill her and just let her brush. What was so difficult about that? Compared to losing her life, Gu Jiao felt that it was more satisfying to be able to brush while saving candy for little Jing Kong. Gu Jiao proudly shook her head. However, not long after, Gu Jiao couldn't be proud anymore. Every time she thought that she was about to finish brushing, the dragon shadow guard would be able to produce a new pack of charcoal pencil as if he was performing a trick. Then, he would look at her expressionlessly, as if full of anticipation. Gu Jiao tried to escape. Whoosh! She was caught. Whoosh! She was caught again. In the end, Gu Jiao was forced to brush the charcoal pencil for an entire afternoon. Claw was about to be crippled. Sob, she felt so wronged. Digression. Writer's block is a little strong. I'll write it tomorrow morning. Everyone can read it later. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642840064. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 404. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. Long E. It was only when someone called him that the Dragon Shadow Guard finally let Gu Jiao go. Gu Jiao did not dare to stay a moment longer and ran away. When Gu Jiao returned to Jade Water Alley, Xiao Lulang also returned home from his duty at Hanlin Academy. He went to the well and drew a basin of water to wash his brush. Gu Jiao slowly walked over. God knows how afraid she was that Shadow Dragon Guard would catch up with her. She used all the strength she had when she stole firearms and fled in her previous life. She sat on a small stool opposite of Xiao Lulang and gasped for breath. Xiao Lulang looked at her in confusion and asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" "Oh, no," Gu Jiao said as if she had nothing to live for. "I just played with charcoal for the whole afternoon. Xiao Lulang did not find it strange that she was a woman dressed as a man. She always wore Gu Yan's clothes when she went out. Later, Yao Shi directly made a few sets for her. His gaze fell on Gu Jiao's dark little hands. He just thought that she went to play with little Jing Kong and did not suspect anything. However, his expression became absent-minded for a moment, as if he remembered something from a long time ago. Gu Jiao noticed that Xiao Lulang was in a daze. She leaned forward slightly and asked, "Husband, what's wrong?" Xiao Lulang came back to his senses and took another basin of water for her to wash her hands. "Nothing." He lowered his eyes and said, "I also played when I was young. But I didn't really play. I was caught and ravaged." Gu Jiao secretly swore that her small sack would come in handy one day. Hiss. Her hands were so sore. The next day, after the family had breakfast, some went to school, and some went to work. Gu Jiao happened to have a house call in the morning. It was a patient who had a sutured wound a few days ago. She went to remove the suture, and it was on the way to the Hanlin Academy. The two of them took Lu Quan's carriage to the vicinity of the Hanlin Academy. At this moment, all the people on duty were Hanlin officials and Shuji scholars. The street was blocked. The carriages could not enter. Xiao Lulang got off the carriage. "I'll send you off," Gu Jiao said as she got off the carriage. Xiao Lulang did not refuse. Along the way, Xiao Lulang was silent. "Husband, are you unhappy?" Gu Jiao asked. "What?" Xiao Lulang was slightly stunned. "You don't seem happy recently." Gu Jiao paused, then corrected herself. "It's not that I'm unhappy. It's just that I feel like there's something on my mind." He had been like this ever since he rescued her great-aunt. Gu Jiao carefully thought back. Nothing major seemed to have happened that night. If anything, it was probably his face being pinched by the dragon shadow guard. Oh. She was also angry. Her husband could only let her pinch his face. No. Xiao Liulong's eyes flickered as he denied it. "I'm not unhappy." As they spoke, the voices of several Hanlin officials could be heard in front of them. "Hey, did you guys hear? Princess Xinyang has returned to the capital." "Are you serious? Princess Xinyang has really returned to the capital? I heard it with my own ears. How could it be fake? Why would she return to the capital? Didn't she say that she would never come back in this lifetime?" "That's right. Isn't she afraid of being reminded of the young duke who was burned to death?" As they spoke, they entered the Hanlin Academy. They didn't notice that Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao were right behind them. Xiao Liulong's expression didn't change much, but if one paid attention, they would notice that his body was slightly stiff. Gu Jiao saw that he acted as if nothing had happened and restrained herself from asking him. After sending Xiao Lulang to the entrance of the Hanlin Academy and personally watching him enter, Gu Jiao turned around and returned to Lu Quan's carriage. "Uncle Lu, I'm going to Vermilion Bird Avenue." "All right." Lu Quan drove the carriage to Vermilion Bird Avenue. This was one of the streets closest to the Imperial Palace. It was said that the people who lived on this street were either old natives or the wealthiest and most powerful people in the capital. The family that Gu Jiao was visiting lived on the east side of Vermilion Bird Avenue. Because of the recent road repairs, the carriage couldn't drive in. "Then I'll wait for you here," Lu Quan said. "Thank you, Uncle Lu." Gu Jiao got out of the carriage and walked towards the patient's home with a small basket on her back. The patient was a 30-year-old scholar. He had accidentally injured his right hand, which he used to write. The wound went from the back of his hand to the center of his palm. Gu Jiao stitched it up more than 10 times. He was healing well. After Gu Jiao removed the stitches, she let him move. "How do you feel?" Gu Jiao asked. It's okay." At first, he didn't dare to use too much strength. After moving a few times, he didn't feel any discomfort other than a slight pain. "Can I still write in the future?" "Of course." Gu Jiao said, "Take your time to practice. Don't worry, and don't be afraid." "Okay." He was overjoyed. Suddenly, He thought of something and became sneaky. He walked to the door and looked around. After making sure that no one was around, he whispered to Gu Jiao, "By the way, Dr. Gu, your medical skills are so good. Can you treat tuberculosis? Tuberculosis? Tuberculosis?" Gu Jiao looked at him and asked. The scholar whispered, "It should be. I heard my mother say that last time. My mother didn't want me to go to their house again." Gu Jiao said, "Tuberculosis is contagious. Your mother was right not to let you go." The scholar sighed, "I understand. I don't blame my mother. It's a pity. Their family is not very well off. Their family has lived here for generations. They used to be prominent, but now there's nothing left. If this disease is not cured, I'm afraid that their whole family will be implicated. They will have to sell this house." Gu Jiao asked, "Here? Their family lives on this street too?" "Yes." The scholar nodded. It's my classmate's mother." Classmate? His sweetheart was still missing. Gu Jiao saw through him but didn't say anything. "Where do they live?" After a quarter of an hour, Gu Jiao appeared in another house on the east side of Vermilion Bird Avenue. The back door. Yes, it was the back door. The scholar did not dare to go out from the front door, worried that he would be caught by his parents. He brought Gu Jiao out from the small street at the back door. Unfortunately, he was caught by his mother halfway. In a panic, he showed Gu Jiao the way. He also paid the consultation fee. Gu Jiao looked at the half-closed back door in front of her. "It should be here? Strange, why is there no one here?" Yes, it was said that this family was in decline and had already dismissed the servants. During the day, his classmate was studying in the academy. Only his sister and the patient were at home. But because tuberculosis was contagious, the patient lived in the double-entry hospital at the back and almost didn't let his son and daughter come here. So Gu Jiao was right to go through the back door. She could see the patient's room when she went in. Which one? Gu Jiao stepped over the threshold. The yard was very clean and there were some flowers on both sides. Gu Jiao didn't know much about flowers, but she felt that these flowers were more beautiful than the flowers in the Imperial Garden. She was sick but still had the leisure to take care of flowers. It was not like what the scholar said about being sick and living a passive life. A low cough came from one of the side rooms. Gu Jiao put on the mask she took out from the small medicine box. She went to the side room and gently pushed the door open. There was actually someone in the room, sitting on the beam. Gu Jiao didn't see him, but he saw Gu Jiao at a glance. But he did nothing and let Gu Jiao approach the bed. There was a curtain on the bed. Gu Jiao gently lifted the curtain. She had thought that she would see a sickly, and haggard person with tuberculosis, but instead, she saw an indescribable beauty. She was covered with a thin quilt. Her black hair was like satin, and her skin was as delicate as white porcelain. Unfortunately, Gu Jiao only took one look. She turned her body in her sleep. She was facing inside, and Gu Jiao could no longer see her face. But the stunning sight from just now was still clear in Gu Jiao's mind. Is this really the tuberculosis patient that the scholar said was dying? It wasn't that tuberculosis patients couldn't be beautiful, but when they were seriously ill, their complexion wouldn't be good. Moreover, along the way, the scholar kept reminding her not to be frightened by the appearance of the patient, such as unkempt hair and dirty face. How could this be called unkempt? There was no one in the world more clean and elegant than her. Gu Jiao didn't know what was going on. She didn't think that she had gone to the wrong house. She gently took out a hand and checked the patient's pulse. From the pulse, it didn't look like tuberculosis. She took out a stethoscope and listened carefully. Finally, she confirmed that it wasn't tuberculosis. It was myocarditis, which was also a kind of heart disease. Heart disease was a very complicated disease. No matter what kind it was very troublesome. Fortunately, her heart disease wasn't serious enough to require surgery, but she couldn't be careless. Looking at her appearance, she must have suffered a lot. Using blockers and amiodarone for this kind of heart disease had good effects. However, the research institute had developed a special medicine that was even more effective. Gu Jiao opened the small medicine box and took out a box of special medicine. She planned to put it in her own porcelain bottle, but she found that the porcelain bottles in the small basket were all used up. Coincidentally, there were several medicine bottles on the table. Gu Jiao casually picked one up and poured out the pill inside to sniff. This is a high-level health pill. It doesn't have any effect on the illness. Gu Jiao poured out the pill inside the bottle and put the special medicine's white pill inside. She stuck a small cloth on the bottle and wrote down the usage and dosage before standing to leave. In the front yard, a woman in her 30s wearing a light green cloak was helping the Crown Prince consort onto the carriage. "Lord Eugene, please wait," the Crown Prince consort said gently. The woman called Lord Eugene said calmly and politely, "Many thanks to the Crown Prince consort for coming to visit the princess and giving the princess medicine. When the princess wakes up, I will report to the princess that the Crown Prince consort has come." Digression, Shadow Dragon Guard. I saw everything. Give me a monthly ticket, and I'll tell the princess. The newest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/110733558. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 405. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. Princess Xinyang liked tranquility, so there were not many servants in the courtyard. Generally, they stayed in the front courtyard. Only Yujin and Dragon Shadow Guard were qualified to enter the courtyard. Yujin was the legitimate daughter of a big family, different from the female officials who were palace maids. She relied on her strength to enter the mansion of Princess Xinyang to become an official. After sending off Crown Princess, Yujin turned around and returned to the room of Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang slept until evening before waking up. When she woke up, she felt her chest was very stuffy. Yujin walked over, and seeing her complexion was not good, she gently raised her jade hand and felt the pulse of Princess Xinyang, then worriedly asked, "Princess, your pulse seems to be not good. Drink some medicine first." Yujin was not a doctor, but because Princess Xinyang had been sick for a long time, she also knew a little bit about medicine. Princess Xinyang didn't oppose. She sat up with the support of Yujin, and Yujin took a pillow and put it behind her back. When she went to get the medicine, Yujin stopped. There were 2 bottles of medicine on the table. One bottle was heart protection pill she had bought from Yen State's pharmacist, and the other bottle was 100 Flowers pill that Crown Princess had personally sent. 100 Flowers pill was extremely rare, even rarer than heart protection pill of Yen State's pharmacist. It was said that it could cure all kinds of diseases. Yujin told Princess Xinyang that Crown Princess had come and sent 100 Flowers pill. "Let me see," Princess Xinyang said. Princess Xinyang had already seen heart protection pill, so she naturally wanted to see Crown Princess 100 Flowers pill. Yujin took 100 Flowers pill from the table. What's wrong?" Princess Xinyang asked. "How come there is a piece of cloth on the bottle? There are also words." Gu Jiao had used a charcoal pen to write, so it was not as ugly as calligraphy, but it was also not too beautiful. For a daughter from a scholarly family like Eugene, such words were, to be honest, somewhat painful to the eyes. But what really made Yujin puzzled was not the words themselves. Princess Xinyang looked at the bottle in her hand and said, "There was no cloth before? I remember there wasn't. Could it be that I remembered wrongly?" Yujin frowned and looked above her head. Long Yi. Long Yi flew down and landed 3 steps away from these 2 people. Eugene looked at him and asked, "Did someone come by just now?" Long Yi didn't speak. "Forget it. Why would I ask you?" Eugene shook her head. This however reminded her, Long Yi was guarding inside the room, and it was impossible for suspicious people to enter. Therefore, he might have remembered wrongly, or he might have missed it. The bottle itself was a small piece of cloth. Eugene said in amusement, "It was written by the person who sold the 100-flower pill, right?" The Crown Prince Consort's handwriting wasn't so strange. With this interruption, Princess Xinyang didn't eat the 100-flower pill first. Instead, she ate 2 heart protection pills that she usually ate. In the middle of the night, Princess Xinyang began to have a high fever, accompanied by severe chest pain. "Princess." Eugene didn't even put on her outer clothes. She walked to the bed in her sleeping clothes and lifted the curtain. She looked at Princess Xinyang, who was lying on the bed with a pale face and pale lips. Her heart was burning with anxiety. Princess Xinyang wasn't born with a heart condition. It had only developed in the past few years. The death of her young master had been too much of a blow to her. She had been perfectly fine before, but she seemed to have collapsed overnight. In fact, the heart protection pill's initial effect was quite good, but as the illness worsened, the heart protection pill's effect became more and more useless. Now, she finally couldn't suppress it anymore. Eugene thought of the 100-flower pill that the Crown Prince Consort had sent, and she poured one out. The pill was white, but Eugene had never seen the real 100-flower pill, so she didn't notice anything wrong. She poured some warm water and helped Princess Xinyang take the pills. The pill took effect very quickly, and after about half an hour, Princess Xinyang felt less uncomfortable. Her heart palpitations lessened, and her chest pain also gradually disappeared. She slept well in the latter half of the night. When she woke up, the high fever had completely subsided. Eugene wrung out a handkerchief and wiped her forehead while saying with gratification, "I didn't expect the 100-flower pill's effect to be so miraculous. If I had known earlier, I would have found it for the princess earlier." Princess Xinyang said, "Do you think the 100-flower pill is something that can be obtained just because you want it?" Eugene smiled. "That's true. The 100-flower pill's prescription has always been a secret of the Bai family of the state of Zhao. They only refine 1 cauldron every year, and buying it all depends on luck. The Crown Prince Consort is considerate." Princess Xinyang responded softly. Eugene continued, 200 flower pills a day. Since the princess is awake, quickly take 1. Last night, she had been so uncomfortable that she hadn't been in the mood to see what the 100-flower pill looked like. Now that she took a closer look, she found that it wasn't the same as the rumored 100-flower pill. The 100-flower pill wasn't really made from 100 kinds of fresh flowers, but it did use a lot of flower petals, so the pill itself had a bit of a floral fragrance. But this pill, or rather, the pill was more appropriate. It was white, colorless, and odorless. If it wasn't for its miraculous effect, Princess Xinyang would have thought that the Crown Prince Consort had bought a fake 100-flower pill. It seems the rumors can't be trusted. After she finished speaking, she took the warm water Eugene handed her and swallowed the 100-flower pill. The princess's return to the capital was a major event. It was reasonable for her to enter the palace to pay respects to Empress Dowager Zhuang and the emperor. She had been tired from the journey a few days ago, and her body wasn't well. Now that she was much better, she naturally had to prepare to enter the palace. After breakfast, Princess Xinyang took the specialties she had brought from Fengdu Mountain and rode a carriage to the imperial palace. The emperor was reviewing memorials in the imperial study. Eunuch Wei bowed as he entered the room. "Your Majesty, Princess Xinyang requests an audience." The emperor was slightly surprised. He put down the memorial in his hand and said, "Let the princess in." "Yes." Eunuch Wei personally went outside to invite Princess Xinyang in. Princess Xinyang stood in the imperial study. She raised her arms and crossed her hands in front of her forehead. She bowed. "Chenmei greets your Majesty." "Don't be so courteous." The emperor reached out his hand. "Rise." Thank you, Your Majesty. Princess Xinyong straightened. Give her a seat. The Emperor said to Eunuch Wei. Yes. Eunuch Wei didn't look sideways as he moved a chair over. Princess, please sit. Princess Xinyong didn't stand on ceremony and sat down smoothly. The Emperor wanted to rub his hands together. It was shameful to say that although Princess Xinyong was his younger sister, he always felt that Princess Xinyong was his older sister whenever he interacted with her. Other people might not be able to tell, but the Emperor knew that Princess Xinyong was the one who resembled the previous emperor the most among his children. Their appearances were similar, but their eyes were even more similar. Methods. He had never thought that the women in the imperial harem were capable of such methods, except for Empress Dowager Zhuang. But after the incident with concubine Jing, he no longer dared to look down on any woman in the imperial harem. Moreover, he had carefully thought about it these past few days. Princess Xinyong had lost her mother's protection at the age of 13. She wasn't close to either concubine Zhuang or concubine Lu. Under those circumstances, it would have been very difficult for her to protect herself. But he had never heard of her being bullied. Later, when she married Marquis Xianping in a high-profile manner, no one dared to bully her. Rumor had it that Princess Xinyong was his most beloved younger sister. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen such an outstanding marriage for her. After all, there were too many princesses who had coveted Marquis Xianping. Who would have thought that this marriage had been decided by the previous emperor long ago? He was just following the previous emperor's will. Gathering his thoughts, the emperor asked her, "Weren't you sick? Why did you come to the palace?" Princess Xinyong said, "I'm fine. I came to pay my respects to your majesty." Ah. The emperor took a sip of tea. "It's good that you're fine." On the other side, Eunuch Wei also poured tea for Princess Xinyong. Princess Xinyong flatly refused. "I drank medicine, so I won't drink tea." "Yes." Eunuch Wei hurriedly removed the tea. The emperor felt a bit awkward interacting with his younger sister. He drank several mouthfuls of tea and asked, "I haven't heard from you these past few years. How are you doing at Fengdu Mountain?" Princess Xinyong calmly said, "Everything is fine. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty." Then, the conversation died again. The emperor drank his tea awkwardly. Princess Xinyong said, "I heard that Abbess Jing and has passed away. My condolences, Your Majesty." Was it too much to call him brother? The emperor inwardly cursed, then vaguely said, "I'm fine." The emperor didn't publicly announce concubine Jing's crimes for two reasons. First, he didn't want to alert the enemy and alarm the remnants of the previous dynasty. Second, he didn't want Ning En to be implicated by concubine Jing's reputation. Empress Dowager Zhuang didn't have any objections. This time, it was the emperor who killed the conversation. The emperor felt that the entire imperial study was filled with an awkward atmosphere. They still needed to chat a bit more. The emperor suddenly had a flash of inspiration and asked, "Right, didn't Marquis Xianping go to find you? Why didn't he come back with you?" "I don't know." Princess Xinyong was concise. The emperor was not too surprised by this answer. The two were already not on good terms, and after Xiao Hang passed away, the relationship between the two became even colder. Thinking of Xiao Hang, the emperor finally opened his mouth. "Did you go see Mother Empress?" Hearing this, Princess Xinyong's expression finally changed slightly. She looked at the emperor strangely. "I went, but the Empress Dowager was not in Ranshou Palace." The emperor gritted his teeth and muttered, "Very good, she slipped out of the palace to play cards." His muttering was very quiet. Naturally, Princess Xinyong did not hear it, but Princess Xinyong's gaze remained on his face. After a while, she slowly said, "I heard that the relationship between Your Majesty and the Empress Dowager has improved quite a bit." The emperor did not deny it. "There is something that we must tell you. That year, the person that poisoned A Heng was not Mother Empress. It was a head of the imperial palace named Zhong Xiu. She had been bribed by the remnants of the previous dynasty in an attempt to poison A Heng and frame Mother Empress to sow discord between our relationship with Mother Empress. We also only found out the truth a while ago. Zhang Xiu has already been executed. So it was like that. Princess Xinyang lowered her eyes and quietly said, "Many thanks Your Majesty for obtaining justice for Aheng." The emperor said with a stern expression, "When the remnants of the previous dynasty have been completely eradicated, only then can justice truly be obtained for Aheng. You can be at ease. We will not let a single one of those people go." After leaving Pure Flower's palace, Princess Xinyang went to Empress Zhao's Kuan Ning palace. She did not stay for long. After paying respects, she left behind some specialties from Fengdu Mountain before leaving. When she passed by the imperial garden, she ran into the crown princess who had just come from the eastern palace. "Auntie!" The crown princess' eyes lit up, and she walked over. "Crown princess!" Princess Xinyang greeted her. The crown princess was like a child meeting an elder. Excitedly holding Princess Xinyang's hand, she said, "It really is too much of a coincidence. I was originally planning on going to visit Auntie. Who knew that I would run into you here?" Princess Xinyang looked at her and said, "You are now the crown princess. There is no need to be so courteous." The crown princess had a panicked expression. "Auntie, have we become estranged? In my heart, regardless of who I am now or who I will be in the future, uncle and auntie will always be the elders that I respect the most." Princess Xinyang let out an almost inaudible sigh. The crown princess worriedly asked, "Auntie, how is your body? I went to visit you yesterday, and you were unconscious. I was worried for an entire night, and my heart was in a mess. I actually did not know that your condition had deteriorated to this degree while you were in Fengdu Mountain. If I knew earlier, I would have worked even harder to find the 100-flower pill." "Right, Auntie, have you taken the 100-flower pill? How is the effect?" "The effect is very good. Thanks to you, I can already get out of bed and walk." Princess Xinyang paused and then asked, "Where did you get the 100-flower pill?" The crown princess looked around and then leaned close to Princess Xinyang. Lowering her voice, she said, "I bought it from a place called the Underground Dojo. There was a saber man from Zhao there. He happened to have a bottle of 100-flower pills." The Underground Dojo was a mixed bag of good and bad people, but it had to be the Underground Dojo to buy this kind of thing. Princess Xinyang's last trace of doubt about the 100-flower pill was dispelled. Perhaps the 100-flower pill was truly colorless and tasteless. It was just that the people of the world had changed its appearance. The crown princess smiled slightly and said, "Auntie, if you are not in a hurry to leave the palace, go sit in the pavilion. I will chat with you. Many things have happened in the capital in the years that you were gone. I can tell you about them one by one." Princess Xinyang did not refuse. It was not because she wanted to hear about the capital, but because she did not want to disrespect the crown princess. The two walked up the steps and sat down in the pavilion in the imperial garden. The crown princess ordered the palace servants to prepare tea and pastries. Eugene looked at the butter tea and rose cake on the table and smiled. "Crown princess still remembers what the princess likes." The crown princess smiled and said, "Of course I remember. I remember everything that uncle and auntie like to eat. What Aheng likes to eat, I also." Halfway through her words, she suddenly paused. Realizing that she had mentioned something that she should not have mentioned, she felt annoyed and guiltily looked at Princess Xinyang. "Auntie, I'm sorry." Princess Xinyang's expression was very calm. "You also remember what Aheng likes to eat. There's nothing that can't be said." Eugene waved her hand and dismissed the palace servants. Only she, the crown princess and Princess Xinyang remained in the pavilion. The crown princess guiltily said, "Auntie, I'm sorry." Princess Xinyang said, "There's no need to apologize." The crown princess opened her mouth. Princess Xinyang calmly said, "There's no need to apologize for what you said, and there's no need to apologize for becoming the crown princess. Aheng has already died. Not to mention that you did not get married, but even if you did, there's nothing wrong with you remarrying." The crown princess tightly gripped the handkerchief in her hand. Her eyes were slightly red, and her throat was choked with emotion. "Did the crown prince treat you well?" Princess Xinyang asked her. The crown princess choked with emotion and nodded. Princess Xinyang also nodded. Then I can be at ease. Eugene. She gave Eugene a meaningful glance. Eugene understood and walked down the steps. She waved to a maidservant that was accompanying her. The maidservant walked into the pavilion. Eugene said, "Did you bring the things I told you to bring?" The maidservant thought a little, then said, I sent them all out." Eugene said, "Isn't there still a box of 1,000-year-old Lingji?" "Oh, I forgot it in the carriage." The maidservant covered her mouth. "This servant will go get it." After taking a couple steps, she awkwardly returned, "This servant doesn't know the way." The maidservant had been brought over from Fengdu Mountain. This was her first time entering the palace. "I'll go get it," Eugene said to Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang said, "No need. Long Yi will go get it." Hearing these words, the crown princess was confused. Who was Long Yi? She looked at the palace people below the steps, but she didn't see anyone leaving. Long Yi was hiding in the dark. Even experts were unable to detect him, let alone the crown princess. There was only one box left in the carriage. It was easy to recognize. Long Yi quickly went to the carriage and took the box. When Long Yi descended from the sky and entered the pavilion with a brocade box, the crown princess was shocked. Princess Xinyang said to the crown princess, "Thank you for the medicine. This is a gift of thanks." Then she said to Long Yi, "Give the gift to the crown princess." Long Yi didn't give it. Shadow Dragon guards generally didn't disobey the orders of their master, unless they didn't understand. Princess Xinyang was a patient master. She pointed at the box and then pointed at the crown princess, and explained word by word, The box in your hand is a gift of thanks. Give it to the crown princess." Long Yi still didn't give it. Princess Xinyang, "Then give it to me." Long Yi gave it to her. Princess Xinyang personally picked up the box to give it to the crown princess, but Long Yi snatched it again. No matter how stupid the crown princess was, she could see that this shadow guard called Long Yi didn't want to give her the Lingji. This was like an elder in a family asking a child to share the sugar with his little friends, but he refused to share no matter what, making everyone very embarrassed. The crown princess was especially embarrassed. Her face became red. "Forget it, aunt. It can't be counted." Princess Xinyang said to Long Yi, "If you want a box, I'll give you another one. This one contains a gift of thanks for someone else." Long Yi didn't give it to her. Princess Xinyang frowned. "If you don't give it to me, I'll get angry." At this time, Gu Jiao happened to pass by the imperial garden. Long Yi jumped down and arrived in front of Gu Jiao. He stuffed the box into the bosom of Gu Jiao. Then he turned around and looked at Princess Xinyang. His expression and posture seemed to be saying, "Don't be angry, I'll give it to you." The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/110716017. HTML. This genius will remember this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 406. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. Long Yi's action had successfully shocked everyone. No one expected Long Yi to be so abnormal. Princess Xinyang asked him to give the box to the crown prince consort. It was fine if he didn't give it to the crown prince consort, but he actually gave it to a passerby. That impatient attitude made it seem as if he despised the crown prince consort. Long Yi didn't think so, but he couldn't help but think so. The Crown Prince Consort's background wasn't high enough, but through so many years of unremitting effort, she had already stood in a position that was respected by tens of thousands of people. She was not only the Crown Prince's virtuous wife, but also the Eastern Palace's strategist. Her position was very important, and she didn't know how many years it had been since she had been treated like this. Her face was burning, and the word embarrassed could no longer describe it. And Gu Jiao, who was stopped by Long Yi, was no less surprised than the Crown Prince Consort. Why was she able to meet this shadow dragon guard in the palace? What kind of ill-fated relationship was this? Gu Jiao bitterly hated the box that was forced into her bosom. She thought, this guy shouldn't have given her a big box full of charcoal, right? Could she refuse? Gu Jiao decisively took a big step back. She didn't want it. The Crown Prince Consort almost fainted. This was something she couldn't even think of, but this girl actually didn't want it. It wasn't that the Crown Prince Consort wanted a 1,000-year-old Ganoderma. She wanted Princess Xinyang's kind intentions, but there was someone who didn't take it seriously. The Crown Prince Consort's face was even more embarrassed. Princess Xinyang looked towards the direction of Long Yi and Gu Jiao, and muttered to herself for a moment. She said to Yujin, I haven't returned to the capital for several years, but there are many new faces in the palace. Yujin, go invite them here. Yes. Yujin slightly bowed and walked down the steps. Gu Jiao saw her at a glance. Yujin was different from the majority of female officials in the palace. Her temperament was written in her bones. She wasn't wearing a veil today, so she lacked a mysterious beauty, but also had a bit more of a female official's dignity. She stood in front of Gu Jiao, smiled slightly, and said politely and dignified, Miss, my princess invites you. My home. If this madam said that she was a princess, Gu Jiao would not believe it. How could someone with such an extraordinary temperament be just a maid of a princess? Speaking of which, Gu Jiao had not seen the princesses of the royal family. They were all married and did not live in the palace. He didn't know which princess this madam was referring to. Gu Jiao walked towards the pavilion with her. Long Yi stuffed the box to her again, then grabbing her hand, he forced her to hold the box. Eugene looked at the two of them. Gu Jiao looked innocent. I really didn't do it on purpose. Eugene smiled and did not seem to mind. She pointed at the stairs and said, Miss, please. Gu Jiao walked up the stairs and came to the pavilion. The Crown Princess was also present. But Gu Jiao did not notice her at all. From the moment she entered the pavilion, her gaze was attracted by Princess Xinyang. She was wearing a plain white corset skirt and a translucent golden muslin robe. She was dignified, noble, gorgeous, and elegant. Her temperament was peerless. Her attire was not ostentatious, but it was like she was wearing a phoenix's robe. For some reason, she exuded a noble aura. No wonder such a lady was willing to bend her knees to be a subject. She was indeed worthy. Gu Jiao was stunned. But at the same time, she was a bit puzzled. She felt like she had seen this face somewhere before. It was no wonder that Gu Jiao could not remember. She had only seen half of a pale face in the residence on Vermilion Bird Avenue. Moreover, she had only caught a glimpse of it. Today, Princess Xinyang was wearing gorgeous clothes and had exquisite makeup. She did not look sick at all. The Crown Princess introduced, Miss Gu, this is Princess Xinyang. Xian. Yang. Princess. Gu Jiao looked at her with a whoosh. The Crown Princess continued, Princess Xinyang, this is the daughter of Marquis Ding and Fu, Miss Gu. I haven't seen you in a few years, but you've changed. Princess Xinyang had seen Gu Jinyu before, but she was not familiar with her. The Crown Princess explained, this is the eldest daughter of Marquis Ding and Fu. She has been wandering among the common people since childhood and has only recently returned to the capital. Gu Jinyu is the second daughter of Marquis Ding and Fu. Princess Xinyang was not interested in other people's private affairs. She only wanted to see who Long Yi was so interested in. She looked at Gu Jiao and asked, Has Long Yi seen you before? Long Yi. That dragon shadow guard was called Long Yi? She had wanted to call him Long Batian in the underground martial arts field, but it was against the rules. It was said to offend the emperor, but this guy could directly call himself Long E. He had a backer. How impressive. Never seen him before. Gu Jiao said without changing her expression. She could not reveal that she had gone to the underground martial arts field. She was still waiting to harvest the crown prince's leeks. In any case, Dragon Shadowguard was not speaking, so it was impossible to expose her on the spot. Princess Xinyong's gaze fell on Long Yi's face without blinking. She naturally would not believe whatever Gu Jiao said. She wanted to hear Long Yi's answer. But she also understood that Long Yi would not communicate with her. Dragon Shadowguard was the master's most trusted secret guard. They knew everything about the master's secret. If they fell into the hands of someone with ulterior motives, the consequences could be imagined. The late emperor, in order to take precautions, trained Dragon Shadowguard to be an ice-cold tool that could not open their mouth to communicate. However, Princess Xinyong also did not think that Long Yi had met the daughter of Marquis Ding and Fu. Long Yi had always been by her side. The only time he had gone out was to escort Eugene to the underground martial arts field to buy medicine. A dignified daughter of an aristocratic family would not run to that kind of place. So Long Yi simply did not want to give it to the crown princess, but he also had no choice but to give it away. So he casually gave it to a passerby? Princess Xinyong was puzzled. She was not bold enough to guess that Long Yi would dare to let a stranger enter the house to treat her illness. Gu Jiao placed the box back on the table. Princess Xinyong stopped her and said to her, "Since Long Yi wants to give it to you, then you should accept it." But she did not want to accept it. If by any chance she accepted it, he would force her to clean out the charcoal in the box. Then, many thanks. She would accept it first. Later she would throw it away. There was no way for her to clean out the charcoal again. "Then I will take my leave first. You two take your time to chat." Gu Jiao wanted to quickly slip away to prevent this guy called Long Yi from chasing after her to clean out the charcoal. Gu Jiao had come to the palace to take something. At this moment, she did not take anything and directly turned around to leave the palace. She slipped into the carriage like a wisp of smoke. She wanted to see how many charcoal pens that guy had prepared for her. Who would have thought that when she opened the box to take a look, there would be 1,000-year Lingji lying inside. She had lived for 2 lifetimes and had never seen such a good Lingji. Gu Jiao was stupefied. After returning to the medical hall, Gu Jiao handed the 1,000-year Lingji to shopkeeper Wang. "Sell this." Although the 1,000-year Lingji was a good thing, unfortunately no one in the family needed to eat it. It was better to sell it for a good price. From time to time, Gu Jiao would bring some strange medicine for shopkeeper Wang to sell. Shopkeeper Wang did not find it strange. "What is it this time?" He opened the box to take a look. He was so shocked that he almost knocked the box over. "This, such a big Lingji? Where did it come from? This must be a 1,000-year Lingji." To be honest, Lingji did not grow for more than 1,000 years. Even 10-year Lingji was rare. The 1,000-year Lingji on the market was generally over 100 years old. It was extremely rare. Gu Jiao said, "Someone gave it to you. Remember to sell it for a good price." How could it not be sold for a good price? Look at how old this Lingji is. Once the news of the 1,000-year Lingji spread, the Miracle Hand Hall would be famous in the capital again. Gu Jiao did not need to worry about the business matters. She planned to change her clothes and go to the underground martial arts arena. She was supposed to go yesterday afternoon, but something came up so she changed it to today. Just as she turned around and walked towards her small courtyard, she suddenly heard an anxious male voice from behind her. "Dr. Gu! Dr. Gu!" Gu Jiao stopped and turned around. It was the patient who had his stitches removed yesterday, the scholar surnamed Su. "Is there something wrong with the wound?" Gu Jiao looked at him and asked. The scholar ran quickly and was out of breath. After a while, he said while gasping for breath, "Dr. Gu, how can you go back on your words?" Gu Jiao pointed at herself strangely. "I went back on my words. The scholar angrily said, "That's right. Didn't you promise me that you would treat my classmate's mother? Lung disease. Why didn't you go?" Gu Jiao said, "I went, she didn't have tuberculosis." The scholar gloomily said, "You're talking nonsense. I went to ask my classmate today. No doctor came to his house." Gu Jiao spread her hands. "But I really went." The scholar saw that she did not look like she was lying and was slightly startled. "Which house did you go to?" Gu Jiao recalled, "According to what you said, I walked straight ahead and went to the first house behind the orange tree." "When did I say orange tree? I clearly said peach." The scholar's expression also froze. "I said orange tree." He slapped his own head. He gave the wrong direction. I'm sorry. Miss Gu, I'll pay you the consultation fee again. Please come with me again. Auntie Sun is really very sick." Gu Jiao looked at the sky. There was still time, so she went with him to Vermilion Bird Street. She found the family and checked their condition. It was indeed tuberculosis. Tuberculosis was not an incurable disease in her hands, but it required a long period of treatment. It required a large amount of medicine, and the cost of the medicine was not cheap. The scholar said that he would take care of it himself and only asked Gu Jiao to cure the woman. Gu Jiao took out 4 types of medicine for tuberculosis from the small medicine box and put them in small porcelain bottles that she carried with her. She wrote down the usage and dosage. "I'll come for a follow-up visit in 7 days." Aunt Sun shed tears of gratitude. "Thank you, Mississippi." "Don't thank me, thank Scholar Sue." When Gu Jiao said this, she clearly felt a curious little figure at the door. However, when Gu Jiao walked out, the little figure disappeared again. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. "Classmate? It was for his classmate's sister, right?" After leaving the Sun family, Gu Jiao took off her mask and put it in a special cloth bag. As she walked, she thought, "Since I went to the wrong place yesterday, who was the lady I treated?" On the other side, Princess Xinyang and Eugen's group also returned to Vermilion Bird Avenue. Princess Xinyang had her own princess mansion in the capital, but everyone knew that she would not live in that sad place again. Because Long Yi had given the 1,000-year-old Lingji to someone else, Princess Xinyang had no choice but to order Eugen to pick another gift for the crown prince consort. Princess Xinyang called a maid to serve her. The maid poured tea for Princess Xinyang. She opened the lid of the cup and cried out in surprise. "Eh? Why is there something in the cup?" "What?" Princess Xinyang asked. The maid brought the teacup over, and a strong fragrance of flowers assaulted their nostrils. In a flash, the entire room was filled with the fragrance of flowers. Princess Xinyang looked at the brown pill in the teacup and revealed a thoughtful expression. "Eugen, Princess, go to the East Palace." 2 hours later, Eugen appeared in the warm room of the East Palace. The Crown Prince Consort personally received her. "Why did Lord Eugen come?" Eugen politely said, "Princess asked me to deliver some specialties of Fengdu Mountain to the Crown Prince Consort." The Crown Prince Consort smiled gently. "Aunt is considerate." Eugen said, "Also, I have something to ask of the Crown Prince Consort." The Crown Prince Consort hurriedly said, "Please speak, Lord Eugen." Eugen smiled apologetically and said, "When I was tidying up the room, I accidentally mixed up the 100-flower pill given by the Crown Prince Consort with the beauty pill given by the Empress. I don't know which is the 100-flower pill and which is the beauty pill." The Crown Prince Consort smiled. "I recognize them. Did you bring the medicine?" Eugen handed a porcelain bottle to the Crown Prince Consort. The Crown Prince Consort had someone bring in a clean bowl and poured the medicine from the bottle into it. There was a total of 3 kinds of medicine. One was a white pill, and the other 2 were brown pills of the same size. The Crown Prince Consort didn't even look at the white pills and only picked out the 100-flower pill. "It's done." The Crown Prince Consort put the 100-flower pill into the bottle and handed it to Eugen. Eugen took the bottle and calmly took out a piece of cloth. "That's right. Has the Crown Prince Consort seen the words on this note?" "No, who wrote it?" "So ugly," she said in her heart. Eugen returned to the residence of Vermilion Bird Avenue and reported to Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang looked at the note and white pills on the table, and again looked at the 100-flower pill inside the bottle. If she still couldn't guess that the medicine had been tampered with, then it wouldn't be justified. And from Long Yi's reaction in the Imperial Garden, the person who had tampered with the medicine was the daughter of Marquis Ding, and Long Yi didn't disobey her order, he merely gave the gift to the person who truly deserved it. Merely, there were a lot of suspicious points in this matter. It was impossible for Long Yi to not notice the other party, but Long Yi not only didn't stop her from entering the room, but also allowed her to change her medicine. This was one of the reasons. Secondly, why did the other party secretly change her medicine? Did they harm her? But those white pills clearly had a medicinal effect. Did they help her? They were neither relatives nor friends, so why did they help her? And she clearly helped her, but today in the pavilion, she pretended not to know her? What was this? Was it a means to attract her attention? Also, not many people knew that she lived in Vermilion Bird Street. The Crown Princess came because she sent Eugen to the palace to report her safety to the Emperor, allowing the Crown Princess to meet her. Where did the insignificant daughter of Marquis Ding and have the ability to reach the heavens to find this place? Princess Xinyang wasn't a delicate princess like Ning and who was protected under the wings of the Emperor and the Empress Dowager. She had experienced countless storms and undercurrents, and she had lost her only flesh and blood. She wouldn't easily trust anyone, and also wouldn't underestimate anyone with ulterior motives in this world. She looked at the bright moon outside the window, and her fingertips lightly tapped on the table. With each tap, the night seemed to become quieter. Suddenly, her fingertips paused, and she coldly said, "Bring that girl to me." Chapter 407. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. After Gu Jiao came out of Vermilion Bird Avenue, she changed her clothes in the carriage and went to the underground martial arts arena. The Crown Prince was already waiting at the arena. This guy's enthusiasm was really higher than the mountains and deeper than the sea. It was a pity that Ning Wang was busy today and couldn't come. Oh, she wanted to let them compete. Gu Jiao adjusted the mask on her face and said goodbye to Old He and Zhu Yun. She turned and went to the Crown Prince's room. She found out that this room was originally given to a martial artist ranked 19th on the expert ranking. The Crown Prince spent a lot of money to buy the right to use this room. As for whether or not he bought that martial artist, Old He wasn't sure. After all, this was a private matter between the martial artist and the guest. The martial arts arena wouldn't interfere. Ranked 19th. Gu Jiao looked at the expert ranking hanging on the pillar. She wasn't even ranked last yet. But she wasn't in a hurry. Gu Jiao came to the chives. No, the Crown Prince's room and gently knocked on the door. The door was pulled open from the inside. This time, the Crown Prince didn't pull a screen in the room like last time. He sat behind the screen on a chair with an official's hat and wore a mask that covered half of his face. This mask was the same as his person. It was made of the highest quality jade and was even more exquisite than Ning Wang's mask. He exuded the luxurious aura of an imperial family from head to toe. He was just short of writing on his face that he was #1 in the world. Gu Jiao didn't say anything. She couldn't say anything about her character. The Crown Prince thought that Gu Jiao was intimidated by his imperial aura. He was about to raise his hand and invite her to sit when Gu Jiao pulled out a chair and sat down without hesitation. The Crown Prince's hand froze in midair. Forget it. He promised Lin Lang that he would bribe this youth. He couldn't use his status to suppress him. The Crown Prince retracted his hand and said to Gu Jiao, "It's not easy to ask you out." Gu Jiao lit half a stick of incense on the table. "Crown Prince." The Crown Prince asked, "Why is it only half an hour?" Gu Jiao took out a small notebook and wrote slowly, "The price has increased." Crown Prince. Fortunately, the Crown Prince was not short of money, so he raised the price. He took out 200 taels in one go. 2 incense sticks. The quality of this pot of chives was not bad, and the silver given was very generous. Gu Jiao was very satisfied. One had to know that she was only paid 1 to 10 taels of silver for a house call, but she had to spend more than 2 incense sticks of time on the road for a house call. Of course, she still liked to treat people. That was her cultivation. But that didn't stop her from developing her side business of harvesting leeks. Gu Jiao accepted the banknotes and generously took out an unlit incense stick and placed it on the table. The Crown Prince was also very satisfied. Last time, the incense stick's time was too short, causing him to not be able to finish speaking. This time, there was an additional incense stick's time, which should be enough for him to bribe the other party. But when the Crown Prince thought of someone's slow writing speed, he felt that he couldn't take it slowly and had to get to the point as soon as possible. He said seriously, "I came to find young hero Xiong for one thing. I hope that young hero Xiong can become my man and fight for me. As long as you can get into the top 3, I'll put it this way for now. I'll reward you handsomely." He almost exposed his identity. The Crown Prince didn't know that his identity had been exposed to the point that even his underwear was not left. Gu Jiao glanced at him carelessly and wrote in the notebook, "You also want to go to the Yen Kingdom?" The Crown Prince was stunned. "How do you know?" After a pause, he frowned. "Wait, what do you mean by also? Do you want other people to go as well?" "Yes, your eldest brother, King Ning." Fortunately, Gu Jiao was a person with professional ethics. She didn't disclose the client's privacy, but wrote in the notebook, "I can't tell you." "You." The Crown Prince choked. But this sentence was equivalent to not writing it. What did it mean that she couldn't tell him? That meant there was, but it was inconvenient to say it. The Crown Prince frowned. What was going on? Were there a lot of people who wanted to go to the Yen Kingdom these days? To be able to find Xiong Batian, it meant that the other party was interested in Xiong Baishan's potential like him and Linlang, whose eyes were so sharp. The Crown Prince listened to one Linlang and came to find Xiong Batian. Now that he knew that Xiong Batian was in high demand, he felt a sense of competition. However, he was the Crown Prince. He didn't believe that anyone in the world could compete with him, except for his father and uncle. But his father and uncle wouldn't come to such a place. The Crown Prince said arrogantly, "I will pay you double how much the other party paid you." Gu Jiao didn't reject him immediately. She was thinking about the possibilities. She wouldn't sell herself to anyone, but she could sell the opportunity to go to the Yen Kingdom. The premise was that she could squeeze into the top 3 of the master list before then. The first and second place were said to have retired from the martial arts world and hadn't appeared for a few years. King Ning and the Crown Prince couldn't do anything about them, so they had to target the third place. The third place was not from the Zhao Kingdom. It was difficult for the Crown Prince and King Ning to cooperate with him. Therefore, the two of them wanted to find someone to kill him openly. They were indeed brothers. Their methods of going to the Yen Kingdom were the same. "Why do you want to go to the Yen Kingdom?" Gu Jiao asked. She had to figure out his motive. If he wanted to betray the country, wouldn't she be an accomplice? The Crown Prince said angrily, "Why are you asking this? You just have to agree to my conditions. I won't treat you badly. Furthermore, I can promise you even more things that are better than money." He was the Crown Prince. Not to mention money, it wouldn't be difficult to give him an official title. The premise was that he could really get into the top 3. The Crown Prince didn't really trust his strength. After all, he had a master who was ranked 19th. Wasn't he much more powerful than this guy? But Linlang said that he couldn't put all his eggs in one basket. There was nothing wrong with betting on a few more masters. Gu Jiao wrote slowly, "If you don't say it, I won't consider it." The Crown Prince gasped. Did this guy know who he was threatening? The Crown Prince of the country. The Crown Prince suppressed his anger and said calmly, "I want to see the chess sage of the 6 kingdoms, Mr. Meng." "Oh, Mr. Meng. Never heard of him." Gu Jiao could tell that the Crown Prince wasn't lying. He was just looking for someone. There was no political danger. The Crown Prince said coldly, I've said what I need to say. Will you agree now? Gu Zhao nodded seriously. I agree. I'll consider it. The Crown Prince, who had been tricked again, was speechless. The Crown Prince used his political methods to brainwash Gu Zhao. Gu Zhao listened with one ear and out the other. The Crown Prince's mouth was dry. Gu Zhao closed the small notebook. Time's up. The Crown Prince was speechless. Gu Zhao came out of the underground martial arts arena. She got into the carriage and changed her clothes. She asked Xiao Sanzi to drive the carriage to the Hanlin Academy. There was still some time before the break. Gu Zhao went to a nearby pancake shop. She found the shop's dried vegetable pancakes to be very delicious. The crust was crispy, and the filling was juicy. The price was not cheap. One pancake could sell for 20 copper coins. Xiao Sanzi stopped the carriage beside the shop. Gu Zhao got out of the carriage and asked for 10 pancakes in one go. 10 pancakes? We can't finish them in one pot. Miss, you have to wait. Do you want to come in and sit for a while? No need. I'll wait outside. The weather was hot. She wanted to get some fresh air outside. She was the only customer. The couple focused on making her pancakes. They didn't make her wait too long. Miss, the pancakes are ready, the shop owner said to Gu Zhao with a smile. Gu Zhao walked over. She turned around and said, Xiao Sanzi, help me get the food box. Okay. There was a clean food box in the carriage. Xiao Sanzi lifted the curtain and took it down. Gu Zhao handed him a piping hot dried vegetable pancake wrapped in bamboo leaves. Here. Xiao Sanzi was surprised. Ah, I have one too? Gu Zhao said, eat it while it's hot. Xiao Sanzi smiled and took the pancake. Thank you, Miss Gu. After the pancakes were packed, Gu Zhao paid for them. Xiao Sanzi took a bite of the piping hot pancake. He gasped as he took the food box with his other hand and said, Let me. He carried the food box into the carriage. Miss Gu, you should eat one while it's hot. It's crispy now. It'll be soft when you get home. Okay. Gu Zhao replied. Then. Xiao Sanzi put the food box away and jumped off the carriage. But Gu Zhao was nowhere to be seen. He circled around the carriage and even looked under the carriage. Where is she? Boss, did you see my miss? Lady Boss said, didn't she get on the carriage with you just now? No. Xiao Sanzi lifted the curtain and confirmed that the carriage was empty. This was strange. She was clearly talking to him just now. How could she disappear in the blink of an eye? He was dumbstruck and stood in place. Did I see a ghost? Gu Zhao also didn't expect that she would be kidnapped in the middle of the street while she was buying pancakes. Moreover, no one saw her. She was still held in the waist with his arm. This familiar posture, this familiar formula. The fear of being controlled by a pen once again welled up in her heart. Gu Zhao's little face was cold. She decided to let go of the burden of being an idol and shouted loudly on the street. But just when she opened her mouth, a strong wind blew into her face and her cheeks changed shape. Gu Zhao was taken to Vermilion Bird Street by Long Yi. Long Yi didn't need to go through the back door. Of course, he also didn't need to go through the front door. He directly descended from the sky and landed in the courtyard of Princess Xinyang. Gu Zhao looked at the courtyard full of colorful and brilliant red flower buds. The valve of her memory was opened. She had been here before. This was the first house behind the orange tree. She had mistakenly thought that the madam of this house was a tuberculosis patient mentioned by the scholar. She had entered the house and treated her illness for free. That's right, it was free because no one paid the consultation fee. Strange, why did Long Yi bring her here? Soon she knew the reason. Because after Long Yi had put her down, she saw Princess Xinyang sitting upright inside the house. Gu Zhao understood everything. No wonder when she had seen Princess Xinyang in the palace, she had felt an indescribable sense of familiarity. As it turned out, she had really seen her before. Then, that day when she had heard the conversation in the restaurant near the underground martial arts field, it was also her and that female official's conversation. The medicine that female official had gone to the underground martial arts field to look for the pharmacists of Yen State was also bought for her. But why was it a bottle of high-grade tonic? Were the pharmacists of Yen State so weak? They couldn't even take out a bottle of decent heart protection pill? Gu Jiao naturally didn't know that bottle of high-grade tonic was called 100 Flowers Pill, which was bought by the crown princess from a swordsman of Zhao State. 100 Flowers Pill was rumored to be miraculous, but in fact it was only a kind of tonic that replenished qi and blood. There was no need to talk about its healthcare effect, but if it was used to treat myocarditis, then it was too difficult. Eugene came to the door and made a gesture. "Miss Gu, please." Gu Jiao calmly entered the house. A daughter who had grown up among the common people was first kidnapped all the way, and then met the princess of this dynasty, but she was still able to maintain such a calm bearing. If it was other people, then they would have been surprised by Gu Jiao. But Princess Xinyong's expression was very calm. In her hand, she was holding a few pieces of paper written with the gossip she had plundered from the tea-house among the common people. She placed the pieces of paper on the table one by one. Gu Jiao roughly glanced at them. They were all related to her. It seemed Princess Xinyong was investigating her. Princess Xinyong went straight to the point. "Tell me, why did you approach me?" She glanced at Gu Jiao, the threat in her eyes obvious. "You better tell me the truth. My patience is limited. Don't force me to torture you." She was a rather tough princess. Gu Jiao wasn't afraid of ghosts knocking on the door if she didn't do anything wrong. She calmly said, "I think Princess might have misunderstood. I never wanted to approach you." Princess Xinyong poured the white pills from the porcelain bottle into a clean, empty plate. "Is that so? Then what's with this bottle of medicine? Don't tell me you didn't put it there." Gu Jiao didn't deny it. "I did switch the medicine inside, but I still say the same thing." Princess misunderstood. "I was asked by someone to come to Vermilion Bird Avenue to treat a tuberculosis patient. I didn't expect to walk into the wrong house and mistakenly mistook Princess for the patient." Princess Xinyong looked at Gu Jiao and said lightly, "I don't have tuberculosis." Gu Jiao said, "I know. I didn't give you the medicine to treat tuberculosis. You have myocarditis, it's commonly known as heart disease. My brother also has heart disease, but yours isn't as serious as his. Take the medicine carefully and you'll recover in a few months." Princess Xinyong said, "You're the first person to say that my illness can be cured." Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. "You're also the first person to misunderstand that I have ulterior motives after being treated by me." Princess Xinyong snorted. "You have a sharp tongue. Don't think I'll let you go just like that. I'll have someone investigate whether or not you're telling the truth." "Go ahead." She wasn't lying. Auntie Sun's tuberculosis wasn't a secret in Vermilion Bird Avenue. Gu Jiao didn't even say who the family was, but Princess Xinyong's subordinates already found out. They followed the vine to the melon and found out that Su Shuxing's family was involved. Su Shuxing and Auntie Sun's daughter had feelings for each other, so Su Shuxing secretly invited a doctor from the Miracle Hall to treat Auntie Sun's illness. In the end, Su Shuxing made a scene at the Miracle Hall, saying that the doctor didn't keep his word and didn't treat the patient after taking the consultation fee. In the end, he found out that he had given the doctor the wrong direction. He invited the doctor to Auntie Sun's house to treat her again and left behind a few types of medicine. Those medicines were different from those in regular pharmacies, but they were very similar to Princess Xinyong's medicine. It was obvious that they came from the same doctor. "How is it? I didn't lie to you, did I?" Gu Jiao crossed her arms. No one offered her a seat, so she found a chair and sat down. She didn't treat herself as an outsider. Eugene wanted to laugh. Princess Xinyong's expression was still ice-cold. Even if the matter of changing the medicine was accidental, you and Long Yi clearly met, but you lied to me in the imperial palace. Was she so smart? She even guessed this? Gu Jiao said without changing her expression. "Evidence, Princess can't slander me again, and slander me a second time." Princess Xinyong coldly said, "If you didn't meet Long Yi, and didn't use any tricks on Long Yi, why would Long Yi let you in? Gu Jiao seriously thought for a bit. Because I'm cute? Princess Xinyang. Eugene chuckled. Princess Xinyang's expression became even colder. Don't think that because you are the daughter of Marquis Ding and Mansion, and also deeply favored by His Majesty and Empress Dowager, I don't dare to touch you. Eugene, bring my whip. Eugene opened her mouth as if trying to dissuade. Princess. Bring it. Princess Xinyang expressionlessly said. Eugene regretfully sighed and went to the study to bring over Princess Xinyang's golden whip. Princess Xinyang coldly said, This golden whip was bestowed by the previous emperor. Even the emperor can be beaten. Beating you is already a favor. Gu Jiao. Then I will fight back. But what no one expected was that before Princess Xinyang had a chance to use her whip, Long Yi flashed in and blocked Gu Jiao behind him. Princess Xinyang didn't expect that Long Yi would go to this step for Gu Jiao. She was slightly startled, and then her eyes darkened. Move aside. Long Yi didn't move. Actually, Princess Xinyang didn't really want to beat Gu Jiao. She wasn't so cruel, she only wanted to scare her and make her obedient. But Long Yi took it seriously. How familiar was this scene? Move aside. A certain little devil in chaos hid behind Long Yi. Long Yi, don't move aside, don't move aside. My mother wants to beat me. Long Yi, if you don't move aside, I will also beat you. Long Yi, quickly take me away. Wait until my mother calms down, then take me back. The scene buried in the depths of her memory pierced her mind like an awl, and the whip in Princess Xinyang's hand fell to the ground. Digression. The last 3 days of double monthly votes. The P.S. manga and text extras were fully unlocked. On the front page of Xiaoxiong's website, there was a banner, Xiaoxiong Fan Festival, Great God Extras. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/826/1106611946. HTML Genius 1 second to remember this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 408. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. Princess Xinyang fainted without any warning. The servants in the courtyard did not lose their heads out of worry. Everyone went about their own business in an orderly manner under Yu Jin's command. Princess Xinyang was carried to the bed by Eugene. Gu Jiao did not realize that the delicate and weak Eugene actually had such strength. However, Eugene was not a martial arts practitioner after all, so she had used up all of her strength. She panted for a while, her forehead covered in a thin layer of sweat. Lord Eugene, this servant will go get a doctor, said a servant girl. Eugene nodded, then seemed to think of something and shook her head. Then, she looked at Gu Jiao, who had not taken advantage of the chaos to escape. She asked seriously, Dr. Gu, can I trust you? Dusk was setting in the west. Xiao Lulang finished his day's work and came out of the Hanlin Academy. He saw Xiao Sanzi anxiously pacing back and forth at the door. Xiao Sanzi was the clinic's coachman and often followed Gu Jiao to see patients. Xiao Lulang subconsciously looked behind Xiao Sanzi, only to see a quiet carriage with the curtains tightly shut. However, his intuition told him that Gu Jiao was not in the carriage. Xiao Sanzi, what's wrong? Xiao Lulang walked over and asked. Xiao Sanzi heard Xiao Liolong's voice and turned around abruptly, his face full of panic. Brother Xiao, Miss Gu has disappeared. Xiao Lulang frowned. When did she disappear? Where did she disappear? Xiao Sanzi was extremely anxious. Just now. Xiao Lulang comforted him. Don't panic, tell me slowly. Xiao Sanzi did not know that this was not right. After all, he had seen the emperor with Miss Gu. He had to be calm, he had to be calm. Xiao Sanzi calmed himself down and told him what had happened in front of the shop. Xiao Lulang frowned and said, Are you saying that she suddenly disappeared? Xiao Sanzi said, Isn't it sudden? I held the pancake in one hand and the lunchbox in the other. I told her to eat the pancake while it was still hot. Otherwise, it would become soft and not crispy. She even said okay, but when I turned around to look at her, she was gone. No. What I mean is, he's gone. I asked the couple at the bakery, but they didn't see anything either. I looked around, but I couldn't find him even after I searched the entire street. Xiao Lulang went to the crime scene. Where did your carriage stop? He asked little 3. Xiao Sanzi found a place about half a zhang away from the shop. While gesturing, he said, Here. The horse is standing here, and the carriage is here. After the shop finished dealing with Gu Jiao's business, it had run out of ingredients and closed its doors. No more customers came. Xiao Lulang carefully walked around the crime scene. Suddenly, he squatted down and picked up a broken piece of charcoal. Charcoal wasn't a very good writing tool. Most people wouldn't use it, but Gu Jiao loved to use it. In the pouch that her great-aunt gave her, there was a special compartment for charcoal. If it got dirty, she could take it out and wash it. She would usually put 1 or 2 pieces of charcoal inside. But the charcoal in Xiao Liulong's hand was not the charcoal that Gu Jiao usually used. Her charcoal had been treated, so it was softer. This kind of charcoal was a certain someone's special charcoal. He had only seen it in one place. In the courtyard on Vermilion Bird Avenue, Princess Xinyang slowly woke up. Eugene had been watching over her. When she saw her open her eyes, she smiled and said, Princess, you're awake. How do you feel? It wasn't the first time that Princess Xinyang had fainted, but it was the first time that she felt so relaxed after waking up. She didn't feel dizzy or sore all over. It was as if she had just slept casually. Eugene saw her complexion and knew that she had recovered better than before. She smiled and said, Princess fainted just now. It was Dr. Gu who treated Princess with acupuncture. As she spoke, she stood up, took a step back, and bowed. This subject acted without authorization. Please punish me, Princess. Princess Xinyang looked at her helplessly. You know I won't punish you. Eugene revealed a smile. Princess Xinyang asked, Where is that girl? Eugene looked back and said, In the courtyard. In the colorful courtyard, under a large tree with luxuriant leaves, a certain someone was forced to write again. Her face was very dark. You're an expert, Zhao Country's Shadow Guard Long, the world's #1 expert in martial arts. Why do you want others to slap your face? Gu Jiao said bitterly, not forgetting to break a piece of charcoal. Then she felt that this expert was even happier. Oh. She was confused. When Princess Xinyang came out accompanied by Eugene, she saw one big and one small squatting on the ground with a piece of charcoal. Just now, Eugene had been guarding beside Princess Xinyang's bed, so she didn't know that they were like this. Eugene couldn't help but laugh. Princess, she said, Long Yi hasn't played with anyone for a long time. The last time was when little Marquis was young. Princess Xinyang indifferently interrupted her. Eugene, he is dead. Don't mention him again. Eugene lowered her eyes. Yes. Gu Jiao was in despair. Until her stomach growled, she ended today's business. Eugene asked Gu Jiao to stay for dinner, but Gu Jiao refused. She had suddenly disappeared for so long. Little Sanzi must be very anxious. Maybe Xiao Lulang also knew that she was missing. She had to go back quickly. For the sake of the Millennium Lingji, she didn't intend to ask for the consultation fee. But Eugene insisted on giving it to her, so she accepted it. Just treat it as a reward for her hard work for the whole night. Gu Jiao put that 100 taels banknote into her purse. Compared to Marquis Xian Ping, who only gave her a copper coin, Princess Xinyang was simply too generous. When Gu Jiao came, she was captured by Long Yi. Now, she couldn't let Long Yi capture her again. Eugene considerately asked people to prepare a carriage. "I'll send you off." Just after she spoke, a little maid walked over with small steps. "Lord Eugene, that peony seems to be dying." "Which one?" Eugene asked. "Princess's favorite one," the little maid said. Gu Jiao considerately said, "Lord Eugene, go take care of Peony. You don't need to send me off." Taking care of Peony was not urgent. But Eugene could see that Gu Jiao didn't like these empty formalities. So she smiled and said, "Okay, then take care. The carriage is at the door. Where do you want to go? Just tell the coachman." Gu Jiao agreed. Then, after bidding farewell to Eugene, she went to the front door of the courtyard. The door was ajar. It was open from inside. The moment Gu Jiao opened the door, she saw Xiao Lulang, who was about to knock on the door. Both of them paused. Gu Jiao didn't expect that he would find her here. Xiao Lulang didn't expect that the door would open by itself and Gu Jiao would come out at this time. "Are you okay? Why are you here?" Both of them asked at the same time. Xiao Lulang was still gasping for breath. His forehead was full of fine beads of sweat. It could be seen that he was very tired and anxious on the way. He looked at the courtyard behind Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao's eyes moved. She stepped over the threshold and closed the courtyard door. "Let's go." Eugene heard the voice of an unfamiliar man. She was not at ease, so she walked over to take a look. But Gu Jiao had already left with Xiao Lulang. Eugene asked the coachman, "Where is eldest Madame Gu?" The coachman said, "Just now, a person came to look for her. She left with him." A person came to look for her? She was captured by Long Yi. How could he guess that Long Yi had captured her here? Eugene was puzzled. She doubtfully followed several steps. Arriving at the corner of Vermilion Bird Avenue, she saw a carriage driving into the dim light of night. On the quiet street, little Sanzi was relieved from a burden as he drove the carriage. Finally, he found Miss Gu. He didn't need to be on tenterhooks anymore. Still, Big Brother Xiao was awesome. He immediately guessed that Miss Gu had come to Vermilion Bird Avenue. Say, how did he guess it? The same doubt also flashed through the mind of Gu Jiao. The difference was, Gu Jiao quickly figured out the answer. No wonder he could stop Long Yi from killing her. No wonder Long Yi pinched his face. Long Yi was indeed confirming something. Moreover, he had already confirmed it. Thus, it was reasonable for Long Yi to be so close to her all of a sudden. Although Gu Jiao didn't want to equate being forced to stop writing with being intimate, but if it was someone else who had hit Long Yi's face with a writing brush, she was afraid that the next one to stop would not be those few charcoal pens, but that person himself. Although she had guessed some things, and she felt that, with his intelligence, it was impossible for him to not see that she had guessed it. But since he didn't say anything, she also didn't poke through the last layer of window paper. However, she still had to say the reason why she had appeared in Vermilion Bird Avenue. "Yesterday, I removed the stitches of a scholar surnamed Su. He asked me to treat his aunt's illness. He also paid the consultation fee. As a result, I went to the wrong place and accidentally entered the courtyard of Princess Xinyang. I mistook Princess Xinyang for that aunt." Gu Jiao concisely narrated the process of changing the medicine, but didn't mention the matter of Long Yi making her stop riding brush. She also didn't mention the matter of Princess Xinyang misunderstanding that she had ulterior motives and almost used the imperial golden whip bestowed by the late emperor to whip her little butt. It was a bit embarrassing. Princess Xinyang ate the medicine I gave her. The medicine's effect is very good. Just now, Long Yi asked me to go over to treat her illness. She spoke lightly, omitting all kinds of melodramatic misunderstandings and details. But Xiao Lulang had been with Princess Xinyang for more than 10 years. How could he not know what kind of temperament she had? Perhaps in the past, He didn't understand, but now that he thought about it, many details were different from what he remembered. Princess Xinyang had never been a simple woman. If she really wanted to ask someone to treat her illness, she would send a palanquin in a grand manner and let Long Yi take her away. Most likely, she was suspicious of her. Fortunately, all of this was a misunderstanding. He had no way to stop her from seeing Princess Xinyang because he couldn't. This wasn't something that she could see just because she wanted to. If Princess Xinyang gave the order, Long Yi would find her even if he had to dig 3 feet into the ground. But Long Yi wouldn't allow anyone to hurt her, right? Just like how he also didn't allow anyone to hurt her. When they returned home, the pancakes were already cold. Gu Jiao sighed. The pancakes were delicious, but it was a pity. It was already late at night, and everyone in the family was asleep. The two of them washed up and returned to their room. Little Jing Kong was lying on his back on the bed, snoring heartily. Xiao Lulang looked at him and somehow thought of himself when he was a child. He also thought of the former princess mansion. Memories flashed through his mind frame by frame like pictures. The memories that he thought he had long forgotten were actually so clear at night. Xiao Lulang closed his eyes and tried to squeeze these memories out of his mind, but he found that the more he tried, the more the memories surged. Mother! Little Jing Kong suddenly opened his mouth in a daze. Was this little guy dreaming that he had a mother? Xiao Liulong's thoughts were interrupted. He pulled down little Jing Kong's clothes and covered his little belly. Little Jing Kong turned over and snuggled into his arms. He was mumbling something in his sleep. Xiao Lulang raised his slender, jade-like finger and poked his little head to the side. Little Jing Kong rolled over and rolled back after a while. Xiao Lulang poked him again. He rolled again. In the end, he stopped snuggling into Xiao Liulong's arms. His little foot came out of nowhere and directly kicked Xiao Liulong's face. Xiao Lulang. After being tormented by little Jing Kong, Xiao Lulang didn't have time to think about anything else. The strange memories in his mind also disappeared. He had a good sleep in the latter half of the night. The next day, before dawn, he went to Hanlin Academy. He arrived earlier than Kong Mu. Kong Mu looked at him strangely. Xiao Xiuzhua didn't go back last night, right? He went back, Xiao Lulang said. After the roll call, Xiao Lulang went to his office. Kong Mu couldn't help but mutter, "It's so early." He quarreled with his wife and was chased out by her. The results of the 6 ministries examination were out. A large number of officials had entered the list of those who needed to take the make-up examination. Hanlin Academy took on the responsibility of giving lectures to the officials taking the make-up examination. Among the officials taking the make-up examination, a large number of them didn't take the imperial examination. They were officials from their families who obtained their positions through meritorious deeds of the previous generation. One could imagine how good their examination skills were. It wasn't that none of the officials were well-read. However, if a person had real talent and knowledge, he or she didn't need his or her family's help. He or she could become an official himself. For example, the former young chancellor and the current editor Zhuang. After all, those who knew they could become officials and still studied diligently were in the minority. The drawbacks of the system were obvious, but it had been around for a long time. During the reign of the previous emperor, he had tried to abolish it. In the end, he was jointly opposed by the civil and military officials. However, the previous emperor was also stubborn. He didn't relent until his death, causing the relationship between the monarch and his subjects to be very stiff. His old subordinates were loyal to him, but they also hoped that he would take back his order. After Empress Dowager Zhuang held court behind the curtain, she restored the system and gave the civil and military officials a way out. However, at the same time, she also raised a condition: the addition of the 6 ministries examination. There would be an examination every 3 years. If they failed, they would have to take the make-up examination. If they failed the make-up examination twice, they would be demoted. If they were demoted twice, they would have their official position taken back. It was worth mentioning that those who had a demerit on their record would have to participate in the next round of examination, regardless of whether they drew lots or not. The mystery of this system was that it contained a lot of buffer periods. If they failed, they could still take the makeup examination. If they failed, they could still take the examination 3 years later. It wasn't like they would lose their official position all of a sudden. In addition, Empress Dowager Zhuang said, like father, like son. All of you are both intelligent and courageous. You are the pillars of our Zhao kingdom. Are your children all useless? Using flattery and provocation, the ministers of the imperial court were choked. The 6 ministries examination was accepted just like that. Although this system didn't completely eliminate the system, it minimized the drawbacks of the system. Today, the Hanlin official who was scheduled to lecture at the Tribute Institution was Xiao Lulang. The Tribute Institution arranged a carriage to pick him up. The carriage hadn't arrived yet. Xiao Lulang took a kettle to the backyard to get water. Ning Ziyuan happened to be washing his brush at the ink pool. When he saw him, he smiled and greeted him. Lulang, you're early. You're early too, Xiao Lulang said. Ning Ziyuan sighed. I was afraid of being late, so I left early. Your house isn't far. As the two were talking, Scholar Han came over. Ning Ziyuan was surprised. Wow, I didn't expect Master Han to be so early too. The two of them bowed to Scholar Han. Scholar Han nodded and looked at Xiao Lulang. Are you going to lecture at the Tribute Institution today? Yes, Xiao Lulang said. No need, Scholar Han said. Come with me to the Wenhua Pavilion in a moment. Xiao Liulong's fingertips moved. The Wenhua Pavilion was the library built by Princess Xinyang. Scholar Han gave Xiao Lulang this opportunity because he thought highly of Xiao Lulang. Seeing that Xiao Lulang didn't say anything, he took it as a yes. Unexpectedly, as soon as he took a step, Xiao Lulang said, Master Han, I want to lecture at the Tribute Institution. What did he mean by, you want to lecture at the Tribute Institution? Was this how he bargained with his superior? Scholar Han looked back and said seriously, do you know what kind of place the Wenhua Pavilion is? What kind of opportunity is this? I want to lecture at the Tribute Institution, Xiao Lulang said word by word. Scholar Han frowned. Xiao Lulang looked at Ning Ziyuan and said, let Editor Ning go to the Wenhua Pavilion. I still want to go to the Tribute Institution. He said 3 times that he wanted to go to the Tribute Institution. No matter how much Scholar Han wanted to praise him, he wouldn't give him another opportunity. You, come with me, Scholar Han said to Ning Ziyuan. Ning Ziyuan followed Scholar Han. As he walked, he gestured exaggeratedly at Xiao Lulang and silently said, Are you really going to give me such a good opportunity? What are you doing? Scholar Han stopped and turned his head to look at him. Ning Ziyuan stopped in a second and said, Nothing, I'm just stretching. Scholar Han led Ning Ziyuan out of the Hanlin Academy. Xiao Lulang waited for another hour before the people from the Tribute Institution arrived. However, just as he was about to sit in the carriage, the coachman from the Hanlin Academy rushed over anxiously and said, Bad news, Xiao Lulang. Editor Ning is in trouble. Hurry and go to the Wenhua Pavilion. Digression. The purpose of the first and second chapters was not to emphasize the number of words, but to tell everyone whether they needed to wait for more chapters. If the first chapter was marked, everyone could continue to read during the day. If the second chapter was marked, it meant that there were no more chapters for today. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/896428626/1106348006. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 409. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. Outsiders didn't know much about Ning Ziyuan and Xiao Liulong's friendship. The coachman named Wu Lauer had only run into them a few times, and only then did he know that Ning Ziyuan and Xiao Lulang were very close in private. He was tight-lipped and didn't say anything. But now that something had happened to Ning Ziyuan, Wu Lauer couldn't care less. What happened to Editor Ning? Xiao Lulang asked. Wu Lauer said anxiously, he broke an antique inkstone in the Wenhua Pavilion. I heard that it belonged to the late emperor. What do you think we should do? If he's really punished, Editor Ning's career will be in danger. It was indeed a big taboo to break an item of the imperial family. Even Scholar Han couldn't protect Ning Ziyuan. The Wenhua Pavilion wasn't far from the examination compound. Xiao Lulang told the people from the examination compound to go there first, and he would be there later to deal with some matters. Then, Xiao Lulang and Wu Lauer went to the Wenhua Pavilion. Every blade of grass, every tree, every brick, and every tile of the Wenhua Pavilion was the same as before. The smell of cinnamon from the Four Seasons could easily awaken one's memories. Xiao Liulong's expression was dazed for a moment. Xiao Xiuzhua, Xiao Xiuzhua? Wu Lauer called out. Xiao Lulang came back to his senses and looked at Wu Lauer. I'm fine. Where is he? Without waiting for Wu Lauer to show him the way, he nodded and said, Got it. He's at Tingfeng Courtyard. After he finished speaking, he strode towards Maple Courtyard. Wu Lauer was confused. I don't think I told you that he was at Tingfeng Courtyard. Have you been here before? How do you know where Tingfeng Courtyard is? The Pavilion of Literary Splendor had one pavilion and 3 courtyards. The main pavilion was called the Pavilion of Literary Splendor. It was used to store books. The Courtyard of Listening Lair was the private courtyard of Princess Xinyang. The Courtyard of Listening Billow was used to entertain guests. Only the Courtyard of Listening Maple was used to store antiques and treasures, as well as books that needed to be restored. Scholar Han had come here today because Princess Xinyang had brought back a large box of famous paintings from Fengdu Mountain. Among them were 2 books, Mencius and the Doctrine of the Mean, which had been annotated by the great scholar of the previous dynasty, Master Zhuge. Princess Xinyang intended to gift these 2 books to the Hanlin Academy. Because the books had just been moved back and were about to be sent out, they weren't placed in the library. Instead, they were temporarily placed in Listening Maple Courtyard. Xiao Lulang arrived at Tingfeng Courtyard with ease. He realized that it wasn't that nothing had changed here. At least, the people here were no longer familiar faces. The steward in charge of the splendid literature pavilion had the same surname as Wu Lauer. He was almost 50 years old, but he looked like he was in his early 40s. This incident had caused a huge commotion. Not only him, but even the deputy stewards of the splendid literature pavilion had come along. Scholar Han had brought Ning Ziyuan here. If something really happened, he wouldn't be able to escape responsibility. He was pleading with the stewards to let him take the inkstone away. There was a scholar in the Hanlin Academy who was proficient in restoring antiques. Maybe he could give it a try. However, the stewards didn't give Scholar Han any face. They insisted on detaining Ning Ziyuan and handing him over to Princess Xinyang. Master Han, Xiao Lulang walked over and saluted Scholar Han. He then looked at Ning Ziyuan. When Ning Ziyuan saw him, it was as if he had seen a life-saving straw. Lulang. Scholar Han frowned and said, Didn't you go to the tribute courtyard? Why are you here? This isn't something you should get involved in. You should leave quickly. Xiao Lulang said, The tribute courtyard doesn't start classes this early. I heard that something happened here. I recommended Ning Ziyuan here. If it weren't for me, he wouldn't have been in this situation. 6th. Ning Ziyuan corrected himself. Xiao Xiuzhu, don't say that. I was careless and dropped the inkstone. It has nothing to do with you. Xiao Lulang wasn't in a hurry to appease Ning Ziyuan. Instead, He looked at the stewards across from him. "Can you let me see that inkstone?" Steward Wu saw that he was wearing the Hanlin Academy's official robes and knew that he was an official. He didn't refuse his request, but Steward Wu looked at his lame leg and crutches with a strange expression. Xiao Lulang was used to this kind of scrutiny. He stood there, neither servile nor overbearing, and waited for the servants of the splendid literature pavilion to carefully bring in the broken inkstone on a tray. This was the imperial inkstone used by the third emperor of the Great Western Dynasty. It was an antique from the previous dynasty. No wonder the stewards of the splendid literature pavilion were so nervous. However, this inkstone wasn't broken by Ning Ziyuan. It had been broken long ago. It was broken by the young Xiao Heng. He was worried that Princess Xinyang would spank him, so he asked Long Yi to find some fish bleach glue and stuck it on himself. So, Ning Ziyuan was really tricked by him. Xiao Lulang said without changing his expression, "This inkstone was broken to begin with." "Nonsense," Steward Wu said sternly. "How could it be broken? Are you implying that we broke the inkstone and blamed it on your Hanlin Academy?" Ning Ziyuan was actually a little confused, but no one believed him, so he didn't dare to voice his doubts. Now that Xiao Lulang spoke, he became a little more confident. "I also don't think I broke it. There's a wooden floor below, and this thing isn't placed high. Who knows how it broke in half with a light knock?" Scholar Han looked at Xiao Lulang. "What evidence do you have?" Although he didn't want Ning Ziyuan to be guilty, he couldn't let someone else take the blame just to get Ning Ziyuan off the hook. Princess Xinyang wasn't a good-tempered person, and the consequences of slandering her servant were severe. Xiao Lulang showed the inkstone to Scholar Han. "This crack is quite old, and there are traces of it being glued together. If the stewards don't believe me, you can invite Dr. Nye from our Hanlin Academy and the Chancellor of the Directorate of Imperial Studies. They will know once they take a look." Dr. Nye was the 5 classics doctor who was proficient in restoring antiques. The old Chancellor didn't need to be mentioned. Not only could he identify antiques, but he could also fake them. When Scholar Han heard this, he immediately sent people to Hanlin Academy and the Imperial College to invite experts. After careful inspection, they confirmed that Xiao Lulang wasn't lying. This inkstone was indeed broken for many years. However, the stewards still had a skeptical look on their faces. Scholar Han smiled faintly. "You don't trust Hanlin Academy, but don't you trust the Imperial College?" "Hanlin Academy has nothing to do with the Imperial College." This was the truth. Everyone knew that Hanlin Academy was under Grand Tutor Zhuang, and Grand Tutor Zhuang and the old Chancellor were independent. The old Chancellor thought, "Your disciple is in Hanlin Academy?" The old Chancellor stroked his beard and said seriously, all right, there are some things that shouldn't be said. After all, the young Marquis has passed away and it's not inappropriate to talk about him again. However, we can't make an innocent person take the blame because of this. Actually, this inkstone was broken by Xiao Heng. He was naughty when he was young, so he didn't dare to tell Princess Xinyang that he broke the inkstone. He secretly took it to the Imperial College and asked me to fix it for him. That's right, I glued this inkstone. If you don't believe me. What if you don't believe me? Do you want to go underground and ask the young Duke for confirmation? The stewards had an image in their minds. They quivered and didn't dare to speak anymore. The old Chancellor waved his hand. "Okay, I'll tell Princess Xinyang about the inkstone. I won't make things difficult for you." At this point, the stewards finally heaved a sigh of relief. Even if they hadn't served the young Duke, they knew that the old Chancellor was the young Duke's teacher. Since he took the responsibility, there was nothing for them to do. The storm was over. Scholar Han thought he could meet Princess Xinyang, but she didn't come to Wanhua Pavilion until they left. He felt a little regretful. After leaving Wanhua Pavilion, Xiao Lulang looked at the old Chancellor with a speechless expression. "Teacher's mouth is really—" The old Chancellor waved his hand. "Excellent as always, I know." Xiao Lulang was speechless. "As long as you're happy." On the other side, Gu Jiao entered the palace. She was now a regular at Ranshou Palace. She didn't even need to check her token and could directly enter the palace. She was going to deliver candied fruit to her grandaunt. Recently, her grandaunt had improved a new type of candied fruit. It was sweeter but had less sugar, so her grandaunt could eat one more fruit every day. When she was on the way to Rancho Palace, she suddenly heard someone calling her. "Miss Gu." It was Consort Rue Wang's voice. Gu Jiao hadn't seen Consort Rue Wang for a while. It was mainly because she encountered a wave of assassination on her way back from visiting old concubine Jing in the nunnery. Rue Wang was so scared that Rue Wang couldn't go out for 2 months. "I knew it was you." Consort Rue Wang walked over and affectionately held Gu Jiao's arm. "You seem to have grown taller. Unlike me, I can only put on weight." Gu Jiao looked at her slightly round body and said, "You're not fat." She really wasn't fat. Consort Rue Wang used to be too thin. Now she was normal. Consort Rue Wang said, "Only you and the prince would say that. The nannies didn't allow me to eat too much. They were afraid that the baby would grow too big and it would be hard to give birth." Gu Jiao deeply agreed. In ancient times where medical treatment wasn't advanced enough, giving birth was a natural process. Not eating too much was the best choice as long as the child's nutrition was ensured. However, looking at Consort Rue Wang's complexion, it was clear that the nannies had taken good care of her. Consort Rue Wang sighed. "I haven't been out for so long that I didn't even know that old concubine Jing had passed away. The prince probably hid it from me because he was afraid that I would be sad and affect the baby. Old concubine Jing's death had been kept a secret, so Gu Jiao wasn't sure if Rue Wang had heard anything." "How have you been recently?" Consort Rue Wang asked. "I'm fine," Gu Jiao said. Consort Rue Wang sighed. "Why didn't you come to the estate to find me? You don't know how bored I've been for the past 2 months." Gu Jiao looked at her bulging belly and said, "Are you still bored with him?" Consort Rue Wang and Consort Yao were both due in the beginning of the 10th month. She was now 7 months pregnant. Her belly looked a bit bigger than Consort Yao's. When the child in her belly was mentioned, Consort Rue Wang revealed a hint of motherly gentleness. "I don't know if it's a son or a daughter. I want to give birth to a son for the prince. If it's a son, then it'll be Imperial Father's first Imperial grandson. Imperial Father will definitely be very happy." Other people wouldn't dare to say this, but Consort Rue Wang was a straightforward person. Adding on the fact that she trusted Gu Jiao a lot, she didn't have any scruples when she said this. Just as Gu Jiao was about to use the stethoscope to listen to the heartbeat in her belly, a woman's cry of surprise came from behind the rockery not far away. "What? Ugh!" As soon as Consort Rue Wang opened her mouth, Gu Jiao vigilantly covered her mouth. The newest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/896428286/110608917. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gur mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 410. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. There was clearly a trace of an expert's presence in the place where the woman's cry came from. After Gu Jiao covered Consort Rue Wang's mouth, she signaled her with her eyes. Consort Rue Wang opened her eyes wide and nodded. The place they were at was a small path between Rancho Palace and Cunning Palace. The surrounding scenery was very good and there was a lot of cover, which was good for hiding. It was also for this reason that the other party chose this place. For the time being, Gu Jiao didn't know what the other party wanted to do. She only knew that if she pulled Consort Rui Wang away now, no matter where they went, they would be seen by the people behind the rockery. Gu Jiao simply pulled Consort Rui Wang behind a large tree behind them. Consort Rui Wang picked up Gu Jiao's hand and used her fingertips to write on her palm, "Aren't we going to see what happened?" Gu Jiao shook her head and wrote on her palm, "There's an expert." After a pause, she said, "He doesn't have a murderous aura." In other words, he didn't want to kill that woman. Consort Rui Wang nodded thoughtfully. The rockery was directly across from the large tree, about 20 steps away. The two of them both held their breaths. With Gu Jiao's ability, she could hide her presence very well, but Consort Rui Wang couldn't do it for the time being. She could only try to slow her breathing as much as possible. However, that woman's breathing was probably too fast and nervous, so she suppressed Consort Rui Wang's and didn't let the expert notice. The conversation behind the rockery could be faintly heard. "It's you? You? Why are you here? What did you do to Chunying?" Hearing this name, Consort Rui Wang's temples suddenly jumped a few times. Gu Jiao looked at her with confusion. She picked up Gu Jiao's hand and wrote on her palm, "Chunying is the Crown Prince Consort's personal female official." Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. So the woman who spoke was... Both the woman and the expert lowered their voices, which sounded different from their usual voices. Therefore, it was difficult to tell if it was the person she had guessed in her heart. But there was no hurry. After all, the two of them would come out from behind the rockery in a while. The conversation continued. "I only sealed her sleeping acupoint. It will automatically unseal after an hour." Gu Jiao. "Oh, she wants to learn too. She put her husband to sleep and then did this and that." It was a man's voice. The woman said, "I think you're the crazy one. This is the Imperial Palace. It's broad daylight. Aren't you afraid of being discovered?" The voice sounded a little angry. The expert sneered, "Who told you to always avoid me? I can only resort to this. Don't come any closer." The woman shouted. A few hurried footsteps came from behind the rockery. It should be the woman who was staggering back to avoid the expert. Unfortunately, she couldn't retreat far. Gu Jiao heard her back hit the rockery. The expert seemed to compromise. "Okay, I won't come over. Don't hurt yourself." The woman said coldly, "What do you want to do?" The expert smiled playfully. "Don't you know what I want to do? You. Look at how scared you are. Don't worry. I don't want to do anything today. I just came to tell you." Gu Jiao and Consort Rui Wang didn't hear the last sentence clearly. The expert seemed to have said it close to the woman's ear. Then there was a crisp slap from behind the rockery. Consort Rui Wang was stunned and blinked. Was this a slap? Gu Jiao nodded. It sounded like it. After that slap, there was no more conversation from behind the rockery. The expert should have left. The woman's breathing was still there. Gu Jiao and Consort Rui Wang didn't leave. Both of them wanted to see who the woman behind the rockery was. The two of them waited for a long time. Finally, the woman behind the rockery came out. Consort Rui Wang took a closer look and quickly covered her mouth. How could it be her? Gu Jiao had already guessed it, so she didn't have much of a reaction. At this time, the servant girl who was left behind in the Imperial Garden by Consort Rui Wang hadn't seen Consort Rui Wang for a long time. She couldn't help but come here. "Princess. Princess, you're here." Consort Rui Wang couldn't hide anymore. She braced herself and walked out from behind the tree. Gu Jiao also walked out. "Princess." The servant girl bowed to Consort Rui Wang. She hadn't seen Gu Jiao before, so she didn't greet Gu Jiao. But when she saw the woman walking out from behind the rockery, she quickly bowed. "Crown Prince Consort." Consort Rui Wang's mouth twitched. This was so awkward. Consort Rui Wang naturally wouldn't admit that she had eavesdropped on the Crown Prince Consort. She cleared her throat and said to Wen Lin Lang with a fake smile, "Did the Crown Prince Consort also go to pay respects to Imperial Mother?" "I just came out of Imperial Mother's palace and met Dr. Gu on the way. I was about to invite Dr. Gu to sit in the Imperial Garden and check my pulse to see if I'm pregnant with a boy or a girl." These words stabbed right into the Crown Prince Consort's heart. The Crown Prince Consort and the Crown Prince had been married for almost 2 years. The Crown Prince only doted on her. Unfortunately, she wasn't pregnant at all. Empress Xiao was almost worried to death. The Crown Prince Consort looked deeply at Consort Rui Wang and Gu Jiao. She didn't know if she was provoked by Consort Rui Wang's words, but she didn't ask anything else and just said mildly, "I was just about to go pay respects to Imperial Mother. Since Consort Rui Wang has already gone, I won't call you along." As she spoke, she suddenly looked at Gu Jiao. Dr. Gu looks more like someone from the Imperial Palace than Consort Rui Wang. Consort Rui Wang was the Imperial family's daughter-in-law. Unfortunately, Rui Wang had already reached the age of 20 and was living alone. Consort Rui Wang naturally couldn't live in the palace anymore. However, Gu Jiao could come and go as she pleased. She could live whenever she wanted. Gu Jiao said unconcernedly, "I can't help it. Someone dotes on me." The Crown Prince Consort, Gu Jiao, didn't exchange pleasantries with Consort Rui Wang for too long. The two headed in the direction of the Imperial Garden together. Consort Rui Wang turned her head to look at the servant following behind her in the distance and said in a small voice, "Say, who do you think that man is?" Gu Jiao looked strangely at her. "Shouldn't I be the one asking you this? Which one of us is the Imperial family's daughter-in-law?" Did she really think that she knew more about the population of the Imperial Palace than her just because she had made a few trips to the Imperial Palace? Consort Rui Wang thought for a moment and said, "The Imperial princes still living in the palace are only Zhao Mu's 4th prince and Consort Shu's 5th prince. Little Six and Little Qi are still young. It definitely isn't them." Gu Jiao asked, "Why must it be the Imperial princes? Could it be His Majesty?" Consort Rui Wang was terrified. "Gu Jiao, what are you thinking? It couldn't be His Majesty. His Majesty didn't know martial arts. Also, the relationship between the Crown Prince Consort and that man seemed to be a bit unclear." The two parted ways in the Imperial Garden. Consort Rui Wang returned to the Rui Wang Fu. Gu Jiao went to Rancho Palace and gave the candied fruit that her granduncle had personally made to her grandaunt. She also solemnly announced that she could eat one more fruit every day. On the other side, Xiao Lulang had finished lecturing the officials for the entire day. Today, he was mainly talking about the law. As an official directly under the 6 ministries, it was a sad thing that he couldn't even memorize all of the laws of Zhao country. It was sad for the officials and also sad for the imperial court. The carriage of the tribute compound sent Xiao Lulang back to Hanlin Academy. When they passed by the pancake shop, Xiao Lulang thought of the plum and vegetable pancake that had softened and lost its texture last night. He also thought of the disappointed expression on Gu Jiao's face. He had a thought and had the carriage stop here. Xiao Lulang said, "Go back to the tribute compound. Hanlin Academy is up ahead." "Yes." The driver drove the carriage away. The stall selling pancakes was at the entrance. Xiao Lulang walked over and said to the proprietress who was busy alone in front of the stall, "I want 10 plum and vegetable pancakes." The proprietress said, "There's only one left." Then, "I want 1 plum and vegetable pancake." Xiao Liulong's words sounded almost at the same time as another voice. It was a female customer who had suddenly appeared by Xiao Liulong's side. The proprietress looked at Xiao Lulang and then at the female customer. She asked, "It's the last one. Which one of you is buying?" "I'll buy," Xiao Lulang said firmly. He didn't look at the female customer, but the female customer looked at him curiously. It didn't matter if she didn't look, but when she looked, the money bag in her hand fell to the ground. Xiao Lulang finally looked at her. It was this look that made Xiao Liulong's hand that was holding the copper coins to the proprietress stiffen. "You are." Eugene grabbed Xiao Liulong's arm. "I'm not." You've got the wrong person. Xiao Lulang looked away and put the copper coins on the table. He took the pancakes and left. Yu Jin's expression changed. Wait a minute. Hey, sir. You gave too much. The proprietress raised 2 copper coins and shouted at Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang leaned on his walking stick and quickly walked into an alley to the side. When Eugene chased after him, he had already hidden in another shop. Eugene looked around for a long time, but she couldn't find Xiao Liulong's figure. In the end, she left with disappointment and loss. Xiao Lulang let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, he hadn't been discovered. He walked out from the small cubicle of the ready-made clothing shop. He didn't know if it was because he walked too quickly to avoid Eugene, but his good left foot was twisted. He lost his balance and fell forward. Coincidentally, a customer opposite him had finished picking out cloth and was walking over. Xiao Lulang was caught off guard and bumped into her shoulder. He fell to the ground in a sorry state, and the walking stick in his hand also fell out. The servant girl cried out in alarm, "Princess, are you okay?" Princess Xinyong waved her hand indifferently. "I'm fine." She looked at the Hanlin official who seemed to have tripped over himself. Her gaze fell on the back of his head. She asked, "Sir, are you okay?" Digression. Today is the last day of the double bonus. Those with monthly votes should hurry up and vote. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/110607211. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 411. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. Xiao Liulong's body stiffened. How long had it been since he'd heard this voice? It felt like a lifetime had passed. He fell to the ground with his back to Princess Xinyong. Even so, he could feel her gaze on him. He didn't dare to turn his head, nor did he dare to turn his back. He tried to restrain his body from trembling and said calmly, "I'm fine." "You?" Princess Xinyong heard him say he was fine, but out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of the cane that had fallen. It didn't look like a cane, but more like a walking stick. It was suitable for people who couldn't walk but couldn't walk at all. Princess Xinyong wasn't sure if he had been born with a disability or had just been injured recently. Either way, it didn't seem like he was fine. She said, "I think I tripped you just now. Can you still get up? I'll call a doctor for you. Come, help this man up." As soon as she finished speaking, the servant girl who had been supporting her stepped forward and reached out to help Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang hurriedly raised his sleeve to stop her. "Don't come over." The servant girl was startled. She looked back at Princess Xinyong in confusion. Xiao Lulang composed himself and said, "I'm not used to people touching me." When he was 14, his voice hadn't changed. It was still a young and immature voice. Now that it had passed, he had changed into a voice that was somewhere between a teenager and an adult man, low and clean. Princess Xinyong didn't immediately notice that something was wrong with his voice, but she could clearly feel his avoidance and resistance. She thought about how men and women shouldn't touch each other. He was wearing Hanlin robes and they were near Hanlin Academy. He really should be careful to avoid tarnishing his reputation. Princess Xinyong didn't make things difficult for him. "If you need anything, go to Princess Xinyong's residence and let me know." Although she didn't live in the princess's residence, her servants were there and could still notify her. Xiao Lulang tried hard not to look back. No, I'm fine. Princess Xinyang felt that this person was strange, and so was she. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. Where are you going? I can have the guards send you there. No need. Xiao Lulang refused. I can walk by myself. As he finished speaking, he used his hand to push himself up. Under the gaze of Princess Xinyang, he limped to the door and bent down to pick up the cane that Gu Jiao had personally made for him. He had never been in such a sorry state before. He knew that she was watching him from behind, but he didn't want her to see him like this. His hand that was holding the cane trembled slightly. He didn't look back and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Princess Xinyang looked at his departing figure and revealed a thoughtful expression. Princess. Eugene walked in, panting. Princess Xinyang came back to her senses. She glanced at her and said, "How did you end up like this when you went to buy some bread?" Eugene opened her mouth, hesitating whether or not she should tell her what she had just seen. Princess Xinyang said, "Just say what you want to say. When did you become so wishy-washy?" Eugene looked at her and gathered her courage to say, "Princess, just now. I think I saw the young duke." Princess Xinyang's expression changed slightly, but she recovered her usual calmness in an instant. "Eugene, how many times do I have to tell you? He's dead." Xiao Lulang ran back to Hanlin Academy in one breath. Ning Ziyuan had just come out of Hanlin Academy. Seeing that he seemed to have lost his soul, he pulled him aside and asked in confusion, "Lulang, what's wrong with you? Didn't you go to the examination hall to give a lecture? Did someone bully you?" "I knew it." Those makeup examiners at the examination hall were all shady officials. "They're a bunch of prickly people. How about this? I'll go in your place next time." "I'm fine. The examination hall is fine." He could even suppress the super prickly crown prince, not to mention those little prickly people. "But you look like you have something on your mind." Ning Ziyuan didn't believe that Xiao Lulang was fine. After knowing Xiao Lulang for so long, he knew what kind of person Xiao Lulang was. In the past, Attendant Yang would always find ways to make things difficult for him, but he had never seen him in such a sorry state. Ning Ziyuan's mind flashed. "Are you worried about what happened this morning? I broke the inkstone and offended Princess Xinyang, didn't I? Don't be sad. I'll explain it to her. I broke the inkstone. This whole thing started because of me." Xiao Lulang said, "I'm really fine." Ning Ziyuan looked at him suspiciously. "But you don't look well." Xiao Lulang said casually, "Maybe I didn't sleep well last night." Ning Ziyuan asked suspiciously, "Is that so?" Xiao Lulang nodded. "Yes." Then Ning Ziyuan looked towards the end of the alley. "Sister-in-law didn't come to pick you up today. I'll find a carriage to take you back." "There's no need." Xiao Lulang rejected his good intentions. Xiao Lulang seemed to be easy to talk to in front of his friends, but when he was stubborn, no one could persuade him. Ning Ziyuan had no choice but to let him be. Xiao Lulang walked aimlessly on the street with his cane. When he left the boutique, he almost ran away. He didn't even look back to see how she looked, but her voice was deeply engraved in his mind. It kept circling and lingering. It started to rain heavily. The pedestrians all ran away. Only Xiao Lulang didn't notice it and walked slowly in the rain. It wasn't until a tender voice sounded beside him that he suddenly came back to his senses. "Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Why aren't you using an umbrella?" It was little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong was holding a small yellow umbrella that Gu Jiao made for him. He raised his head and looked at Xiao Lulang, who was drenched like a drowned rat. Xiao Lulang didn't realize that he had arrived at the entrance of the Imperial College until now. "Are you here to pick me up today?" Little Jing Kong asked, holding the umbrella. Actually, it was not time for school to end yet. Little Jing Kong had finished his homework in advance and made an exception to leave school first. "Yes." Xiao Lulang nodded and said to the little guy, "Let's go." Little Jing Kong didn't move. "You don't have an umbrella." "I don't have an umbrella." He paused and then added, "I don't need one." "Here." Little Jing Kong handed him the umbrella. "You can use it yourself." How could Xiao Lulang take a child's umbrella? What if he took it? The umbrella was so small that it couldn't fit two people. Little Jing Kong said, "I have a raincoat." Jiao Jiao made him a raincoat. There was even a big red flower that he drew on it. Little Jing Kong handed the umbrella to Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang still held the umbrella for him. He took out his yellow raincoat from his school bag and put it on quickly. Then, he took off his shoes, held them in his hands, and stepped into the water barefoot. Xiao Lulang was speechless. "You just want to step into the water." Little Jing Kong stepped into the water all the way and jumped into the holes. Since Jiao Jiao wasn't around, he didn't have to care about his tough guy image. He stepped into the water happily, like a little frog that fell into a pond. It turned out that going home with a bad brother-in-law could be so fun. When he reached the entrance, he said generously, "Okay, I'll allow you to pick me up on rainy days." Xiao Lulang, "Haha, as if I want to pick you up." Lu Quan next door was about to pick up little Jing Kong. He was slightly surprised when he saw the two people at the door. You're back?" "Hello, Uncle Lu." Little Jing Kong greeted him politely. The little guy was wearing the raincoat that Gu Jiao Jiao made for him, and he was wearing a small raincoat hat. He liked things that were golden, but Gu Jiao Jiao didn't have any golden dyes, so she made yellow. The raincoat itself was beautiful, but after he drew so many ugly big red flowers, it became a little indescribable. It was supported by the face. It was too ugly and cute. Xiao Lulang, the Hanlin Academy official, looked a little funny holding a childish yellow umbrella. Lu Quan laughed and said, "It's good that you're back. I'll go and pick up Master." "Goodbye, Uncle Lu." Little Jing Kong waved at him politely. Lu Quan said to Xiao Lulang, "Lulang, quickly change your clothes. You're all wet." Xiao Lulang nodded. The two of them entered the courtyard. None of the family members were home. Gu Jiao had gone to see a doctor and had not returned. Yao Shi had been invited to Granny Zhou's home. Although they were not far from each other and were both in by Shui Tong, with such heavy rain suddenly falling, Granny Zhou was worried that Yao Shi would fall. Granny Zhou had Yao Shi wait until the rain stopped before leaving. Yu Ye and senior servant Fang were also there. As for Gu Yan and Gu Shaoshan, needless to say, they went to learn martial arts. Little Jing Kong couldn't step on the water alone, so he ran to the backyard and let little 8, little 9, and the 7 chicks out to step on the water. The 9 mythological beasts in the house said that they didn't want to step on the water. Xiao Lulang went back to the West Room to change into dry clothes, then went to the study to take out the Yen Kingdom's arithmetic book and continue to study and calculate the ancestral rate. Little Jing Kong stepped on the water for a while, then walked into the study quietly. He came to the desk, held his little belly, and said awkwardly, "I'm hungry." Xiao Lulang glanced at him. "Are you sure you want to eat the food I made?" Little Jing Kong choked and stammered, Then I'd better not." Bad brother-in-law's food was too disgusting, so he could stay hungry for a while. Little Jing Kong's stomach kept growling. Even after eating the candied fruits and snacks, he still wasn't full. After all, he was a child with a big appetite. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fought with the other little monks for food. Xiao Lulang went to the kitchen and cooked a bowl of vegetable and egg noodles for him. Looking at the black noodles on the table, little Jing Kong refused in his heart. Xiao Lulang handed him a pair of chopsticks. "Eat." Little Jing Kong sat on the small horizontal chair in front of him. He didn't take the chopsticks immediately, but looked at Xiao Lulang seriously. "I just want to ask you, can you eat this bowl of noodles by yourself?" Xiao Lulang said calmly, "I'm not the one whose stomach is growling now." Little Jing Kong lowered his head. Bad brother-in-law's words were so reasonable that he couldn't refute him. In the end, hunger prevailed. Alas! Little Jing Kong sighed, took the chopsticks with his little hand, and started to eat in resignation. It was almost dinner time, but Xiao Lulang wasn't hungry. However, he didn't let little Jing Kong sit in the central room and eat alone. He directly moved little Jing Kong and the chair to the study. He ate his own food and counted his own food. Little Jing Kong was halfway through eating when he suddenly looked at Xiao Lulang bitterly. "Can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead." Xiao Lulang didn't raise his head and continued to do the math problem in his hand. Little Jing Kong was full of curiosity. "How do you make every meal taste worse than the last?" Xiao Lulang looked at him and said shamelessly, "Work hard and cook well." Little Jing Kong knew that he couldn't learn this skill, because the sweet potatoes he roasted when he was 3 years old were already better than the food made by his bad brother-in-law. Little Jing Kong developed a good habit of not wasting food when he was in the temple. No matter how bad the food tasted, he would grit his teeth and finish it. "Are you full?" Xiao Lulang looked at the black and empty bowl in front of him and asked. Little Jing Kong pursed his lips and looked dignified. "Your food tastes so bad. Do you expect me to eat a second bowl?" "Okay, congratulations. Your wish is fulfilled." Well, he couldn't do anything if he wasn't full. Xiao Lulang knew that the little monk's stomach wouldn't be full so easily. He also steamed some vegetable jerky, corn on the cob, and sweet potatoes for him in the pot. They should be cooked by now. He took away the empty bowl in front of little Jing Kong and went to the kitchen to bring out the steamed vegetable jerky, corn, and sweet potatoes. Little Jing Kong crossed his arms and turned his face away. "I don't want this plate." He had beautiful tableware. Xiao Lulang said indifferently, "You don't want it? Eat it or not, I won't spoil you." Little Jing Kong unwillingly picked up the chopsticks and said, "A child without jiao jiao is a blade of grass." Xiao Lulang. Taking care of a child required a lot of energy. Xiao Lulang felt tired after a while, but this kind of tiredness seemed to be different from normal tiredness. He felt a little dizzy. After eating, little Jing Kong went to the backyard to wash the bowls. The cupboard was too high for him to reach, so he had to tiptoe to put the clean bowls and chopsticks on the stove. He also took a wet rag and planned to wipe his small table. But when he entered the study room, he felt that something was wrong. "Huh? Bad brother-in-law is sleeping on the table? It's not dark yet." Little Jing Kong walked over, tilted his head and called Xiao Lulang, "Brother-in-law, brother-in-law." No response. Little Jing Kong thought for a while. There was still no response. Little Jing Kong let out a strange cry of surprise. He took out his little hand, which had just grabbed a wet rag, and touched Xiao Liulang's forehead. "Yeah. It's so hot." Xiao Lulang fell ill without any warning. His whole body was hot, and his brain turned into paste. He started to have a dream again and again. In the dream, he returned to the Princess Manor. Today, Zhuang Xianji came to teach Wen Linlang. It was supposed to be at the One family, but the One family was too far away, so it was changed to the Princess Manor. Wen Linlang was his fiancée, so he accompanied her to the class. After Zhuang Xianji finished teaching, it was a break. Wen Linlang complained, "Aheng, Mr. Zhuang's class is too difficult. Let's go out and play, okay?" He nodded as he could see his mother outside. The two went to the back of the mountain. When Linlang found a rabbit, "Aheng, this little rabbit is injured. Let's bring it home, okay?" The rabbit raised by his mother died not long ago, and his mother was sad for a long time. "Aheng, I want to eat dates. Can you go to the tree and pick them for me?" His mother also liked to eat dates, so he climbed up to pick them. "Aheng, can you go and buy osmanthus cake for me?" His mother also liked osmanthus cake, so he sat in the carriage and went to buy it. When he carried the rabbit, a bag of dates and a box of osmanthus cake, he excitedly went to find Princess Xingyang. What he saw, however, was an indifferent and world-weary face. "Aheng." She waved to him and smiled. He slowly walked over. "Mother, are you not feeling well?" She looked at him meaningfully. "Aheng, do you like Mother?" "I do." "Are you willing to do anything for Mother?" "I am willing," he said resolutely. Then go die for mother. Aheng, go die for me, okay? Digression. Do you still remember the last few words? In 121. Little Jing Kong, at the end of the chapter. In regards to the new chapters, I have not stopped updating. This month, I will begin saving up chapters, but the minimum daily is 4,000 words. At the bookstore, it is at least 4 chapters. If the readers at the bookstore like it, I can also divide it into 1,000 words per chapter. Every day, it will be 4 or 5 chapters. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more interesting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels that cannot be found online will all be available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/896428226/110582895. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Pen Fun Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 412. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The rain poured down. Vermilion Bird Avenue was shrouded in rain and fog. Princess Xinyang sat in front of the window, quietly watching the heavy rain in the courtyard. She was wearing pajamas, as if she had just crawled out of bed. Eugen came out of the greenhouse, closed the umbrella, and brushed the rain off it. She handed it to a servant girl beside her, then turned to enter the room. She said to Princess Xinyang, "That peony is alive. It can't be like this anymore. If this happens a few more times, even de Luo Jin Xian won't be able to save it." Princess Xinyang didn't speak. She just silently admired the rain. The rain is blowing in. Eugen walked over, took away the stick supporting the window, and let it down. After this rain, it should get cold. Coincidentally, it's the Mid-Autumn Festival. With no more rain to watch, Princess Xinyang lowered her gaze, but still didn't speak. Eugen looked at her deeply. "Princess, is there something on your mind?" "I just had a dream." Princess Xinyang said, "I dreamed of that child." Eugen's eyes moved. She asked tentatively, "The young duke?" "Yes." Princess Xinyang readily admitted. She pinched her left sleeve with her right hand. "He shouted that he wanted to kill me." Eugen's expression changed slightly. "Princess." Princess Xinyang smiled faintly. Eugen wanted to say something, but hesitated. She sighed. "It's getting late. Princess should rest early." When Xiao Lulang woke up, it was already midnight. He lay on the soft bed. After a while, he remembered that he seemed to have fallen asleep on the table. But how did he end up on the bed? And it didn't seem to be his bed. "Awake." Gu Zhao's voice sounded in his ear. The rain outside had lessened. The torrential rain turned into a patter of autumn rain. It was as if the surroundings were suddenly filled with the coolness of autumn. A dim oil lamp was left on the candlestick. Xiao Lulang turned his head to look at Gu Zhao, who was lying beside him. Her expression and voice were not drowsy at all. It was obvious that she had not slept. Under her gentle gaze, the lingering palpitations in his heart gradually calmed down. "What about me?" The moment he opened his mouth, he realized that his hoarse voice didn't sound like his at all. His throat also felt swollen and painful. Gu Zhao said, "You were caught in the rain today and fell ill. Before your family came back, you had a high fever. Jing Kong was taking care of you." Xiao Lulang was slightly stunned. "He takes care of me? Does that little monk know how to take care of people?" Gu Zhao bent her lips and pointed at the antipyretic patch on his forehead. He put this on you. When little Jing Kong had a high fever, Gu Jiao put this patch on him. There was also a box at home. She didn't expect him to remember it. He even took it out and put it on Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang touched the cold and soft object on his forehead and felt a chill in hindsight. Needless to say, he guessed that it was from her small medicine box. He had seen the three of them put it on. Xiao Lulang had a high tolerance for strange objects in the small medicine box. On the contrary, he was quite surprised that little Jing Kong could take care of him. "The little guy knows how to take care of people?" he murmured. Gu Jiao bent her lips. "Not only that, he also fed you water, but you don't remember." At that time, it was raining heavily. There was no one at home. He put on a light raincoat and went to the clinic to invite Dr. Song to his home. He went so far. Xiao Lulang was even more surprised. The little guy always made trouble at home. From time to time, he would sing a different tune, making everyone in a mess. It was easy to misunderstand him as a naughty and ignorant child. But in fact, he was far stronger and more sensible than children his age. Gu Jiao looked at him. "Why are you so surprised?" Xiao Lulang said truthfully, "I just didn't expect him to care about me so much." Gu Jiao said, "Compared to me, he is more worried about you. He said that you don't know how to take care of yourself. You don't even bring an umbrella in the rain. You are worse than a child like him." Xiao Lulang explained, "When I went out, I didn't expect it to rain. He went out too early. The sky was still dark, so he couldn't see the sky at all. When little Jing Kong went out, the sky was already rising. He had recently learned in the Imperial College, don't go out in the morning, but travel thousands of miles in the evening. He brought an umbrella and a raincoat with him. He was really a worry-free child." Gu Jiao smiled and said, "Jing Kong also said, I know my brother-in-law went out early, but why didn't he buy an umbrella on the way? Why did he have to come back in the rain? So stupid." The corner of Xiao Liulong's mouth twitched. Well, she imitated his disdainful tone perfectly. Gu Jiao continued, "He also asked me if I didn't give you any pocket money, so you couldn't even afford an umbrella." Xiao Lulang was speechless. How could a 4-year-old little monk come up with so many things in his mind? Gu Jiao lifted the quilt and got out of bed. She handed him a pill and poured a cup of hot water. "Since you are awake, drink the pill." Xiao Lulang sat up, took the medicine, and drank it. He also finished the water. Then, he finally realized that something was wrong. "Why am I lying on your bed?" Gu Jiao blinked and said seriously, "I didn't carry you here." Xiao Lulang was speechless. "Go to sleep." Gu Jiao put down the teacup and decisively lay down on the bed and pretended to be dead. Xiao Lulang also lay down, but he didn't sleep. Instead, he looked at her without blinking. Gu Jiao could feel his gaze even with her eyes closed. She opened her eyes and said, "Yes, I forgot to turn off the light." As she spoke, she went to turn off the oil lamp and lay down again. The room was suddenly plunged into darkness and an eerie silence. Xiao Lulang could hear her uneven breathing. He still looked at her in the dark and said, "If one day you find out that I am not who you think I am, will you be disappointed?" "Why should I be disappointed?" Gu Jiao turned her head to look at him. "Also, if you are not who I think you are, what do you think you are? Is your face fake?" She raised her hand and pinched his face. "No," he said. Gu Jiao's fingertips moved down and touched his chest. "Is this fake?" Xiao Lulang took a deep breath. "No." "What about this?" Her little hand poked his abs again. Wherever her fingertips touched, it was soft and numb, making him feel as if he was on fire. Xiao Lulang quickly grabbed her restless little hand. He was worried that if he didn't stop her, her hand would move down and she might poke something she shouldn't. "It's all so real," he said in a hoarse voice. "Don't touch it." Gu Jiao, "Oh." Xiao Lulang. "Why does she sound so regretful?" Xiao Lulang didn't let go of her hand, but he didn't use too much force. She could pull her hand out if she wanted. Gu Jiao did not do so. She turned her body to face him, as if she could really see him in the pitch-black darkness. Their breaths intertwined in the night. Suddenly, she hooked his finger and asked, "Since you're real from head to toe, I won't be disappointed. But what if the identity is fake? What if I'm not the person you think I am?" Xiao Lulang composed himself and used a great deal of courage to make himself speak. "Have you ever thought that maybe I'm not the real?" It was hard to say. Actually, Gu Jiao didn't mind. It didn't matter if he was the real Xiao Lulang or not. However, since he had brought it up to the surface, she was willing to be honest with him. Gu Jiao looked at him. "Not the real what?" Xiao Lulang tightened her hand. "Not the real." Achoo! There was a sudden sneeze behind him. Xiao Liulong's body shook. He turned around and looked at the other side of him. The night was too dark, so he couldn't see anything. However, he reached out his hand and touched it. Sure enough, he touched a yawning squishy ball. Why is he here?" Xiao Lulang was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he didn't do anything to Gu Jiao. Otherwise... "Oh," Gu Jiao said. "He was worried about you, so he followed me. He probably wanted to pee, so he drank a bowl of snow pear soup before going to bed." As Gu Jiao spoke, she found a match on the bedside table and lit the oil lamp. Sure enough, little Jing Kong covered his little butt in a daze. He was dreaming. He dreamt that he was looking for a toilet. He finally found it. "Let me do it," Xiao Lulang said. He lifted little Jing Kong up and didn't even have time to take off his pants before little Jing Kong peed. It was a dark history. Xiao Lulang was pissed all over. He was speechless. The next morning, Xiao Lulang was fine except for a little sore throat and a hoarse voice. Little Jing Kong woke up comfortably on the Jiao Jiao bed. He felt refreshed. He stretched his body and walked out of the east room. At first glance, he saw Xiao Lulang sitting in the central room, organizing books. Last night, the books had been soaked by the rain that drifted in. This morning, the sky had cleared up, so he planned to take the books out to dry. He also saw little Jing Kong coming out of the east room. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You peed your pants last night." Little Jing Kong stared at him. "Nonsense. How could I pee the bed? I stopped peeing when I was 1. He was telling the truth. He was the only baby in the temple who didn't pee his pants. Xiao Lulang laughed. "You can go and see if you don't believe me. You haven't washed your wet pants yet." Little Jing Kong ran to the backyard to take a look. It was the pants he wore before he went to bed. It was really wet. And he was wearing another pair of pants at this time. Little Jing Kong's body shook. He covered his mouth in disbelief. This. Xiao Lulang walked over and smiled. "How is it? I didn't lie to you, right?" Little Jing Kong waved his little fists and jumped anxiously. I didn't pee my pants. It must be you. You peed your pants. You peed on me and you're blaming me. You can see if you don't believe me. Your pants are here too. It's wet. Xiao Lulang. You peed on me." Little Jing Kong firmly refused to believe that he peed his pants. "Bad brother-in-law, you peed your pants and blamed me after you peed. Shame on you." "Umph." Little Jing Kong snorted and walked away. Digression, future divine general of the 6 kingdoms. I don't have such a dark history. This article was posted on Sina Weibo account. Fong, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/896428226/1105563228. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.